Pub Sports Radio is very excited to announce the dates for Pubapalooza 4. The most exciting weekend of the gambling year. Round 1 of March Madness. It's all going down in San Antonio, Texas at the Southtown 101, Thursday the 20th till Sunday the 23rd. It's going down, baby.
Scheduled events every day that weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all going down in Southtown 101. Come hang out with some of your favorite Pub Sports Radio personalities.
Oof, I can't wait. Meet us in Texas, baby. It's going.
Wide open Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me? And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz. Week 15 awaits, all 32 teams in action. Happy Tuesday, December 10th to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Pub Sports Radio. Troy, my man, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jim. Doing well. Pretty much a break-even week. Coming off a break-even week, and it was kind of painful the way it finished with the Cowboys, and it's just so important to recognize, like, to be able to deal with your emotions. And it's hard because, like, for me in my situation, it's like you lose a max bet, it just sets you back further from your ultimate goal, which for me is doing this full time, right? So every time you lose a bet that you put a max bet down on, you lose, it sets you back, right? It's just more time you have to keep grinding. So I'm ready to get to work. Got a lot of action.
Yeah, you're going to take a loss like that once every 30 years. So I guess it won't happen again until we're in our 60s or 70s. But I don't want to get into that Cowboys loss. Still frustrated over it. My 6-week winning streak snapped, and it snapped in a big way. I got crushed, absolutely crushed last week. 4-12 down 9.14 units. A stab in the larynx, and I just want to get back at it so badly. Panthers plus 13 cashed. Raiders plus 6.5 lost. Cardinals minus 2.5. I guess just Geno just can't be faded indoors. Seattle, Arizona under 44.5 lost. Green Bay, Detroit under 51.5 lost. Tennessee double result lost. Tennessee minus 3.5 lost. Miami double result cashed. Atlanta plus 6 lost. Las Vegas, Tampa over 46 lost. KC minus 3.5 lost. Chargers, KC under 43 cashed. Bears plus 3.5 lost. Cleveland, Pittsburgh under 43 cashed. Buffalo, LA Rams under 15.5 lost. Cowboys plus 4.5 lost. It was a very expensive weekend. It cost me a lot of money. And, now I'm sitting here with a 4.56% ROI, which if you had asked me, if you had offered that to me at the beginning of the year, I would take it. So it's okay. Everything's fine. It's just just makes me very angry is all. And I've kind of gotten over the anger and all of that. So it was a tough week for me. You had a decent week. You went 11 and 10 plus 0.27 units. You cashed with the Lions. Detroit, Tampa cashed. The plus 117 parlay. Giants plus 5 cashed. Buccaneers minus 6.5 cashed. You had a 3-team teaser that missed. The Buccaneers double result cashed. Tampa Bay with Arizona plus 132 missed. Browns plus 7 missed. Juwan Johnson over 33.5 receiving yards cashed. Will Levis over 214.5 passing yards didn't. K. Dotton over 40.5 receiving yards cashed. You fell down the Cardinals train. I blame myself for getting a bunch of people on it. Cardinals minus 2.5. Arizona, Seattle under 44.5. Bears plus 4. Another spot that I kind of pushed. That was so wrong.
That game, we made a mistake. I know we have to kind of cook through. We got a full slate, but game, we made a mistake. We were talking 49ers the entire time, and here we go. I know there's reasons for it, but when you're so one-sided in your handicap, it's not that there's not that small of a margin, in my opinion, to switch. Okay, let's go.
It was a mistake. It was a poorly conceived plan. Then you cashed on the unders. Casey Chargers, you got it twice, 43.5, and then Chiefs and the under 48.5, and Worthy over 36.5. And then you lost Cowboys +6, Cowboys +4.5, and Cowboys money line at +180. So disappointing week. But we're ready to fire now. We're ready to rock. We're ready to hammer. So let's do exactly that. Shout out to all the cappers joining us. We got T. Moss, Truth Teller, the Nuke Worker, Gerald Jones, Dougie Wise, Jared TG, G. Martinez, Nutflush, Allen, D. Jenkins, Ziggy Balls. What a great group. All E in the house. Thank you guys for joining us. Wine Time Sports, Birdie, Slatsy, Rants, Kong's Clips, Ron Crawford. Thank you guys so much for joining. MMA Locker Room, Coin in the house. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. Let's get right to work. We start on Thursday night. A beauty that I've already attacked. LA Rams 7-6, 3-3 on the road. San Francisco 49ers 6-7, 4-3 at home. We're at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 58 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 3-mile-per-hour winds. A little chilly, but not so bad. Let's get into the line history here for this one. This is the Niners right now. I should just refresh this. This has been up for hours and hours and hours. Let's just refresh all of this here. We have the no change. The 49ers -2.5 at -113. The look ahead was 3. But when this came out onto the market, it was a -1.5 at a pick'em. The Rams really showed out in that 44-42 victory that we'll get into in a second. There's been a 1-point move to the San Francisco 49ers. Then on the total, this is wow, okay, it's come a little, okay, so this has been bouncing all over the place. Okay, so this was at 49.5 a little while ago. I got in on the under at 49. It looks like we've had a little bit of buyback. It's funny because I told myself when this hits 50, we bet it again. I was wondering if that would happen. So at 2:57 p.m. today, this was -114 to the over. At that point, I'd already gotten in on the under. That there was a 13-cent move to the over at 2:57 p.m. From over 49 to -101 to over 49 -114. We've had 4 cents of buyback at that point. I am on the under, and I'm on the San Francisco 49ers. 31% of tickets and 25% of the cash on the San Francisco 49ers. 82% of tickets and 85% of cash on the over. Let's roll here. We're going to start with the LA Rams passing offense, 9th in the league. Puka Nacua looks phenomenal. I mean, you were the one immediately saying last year when he was 2 or 3 games in that this was a Hall of Fame receiver. I mean, he just looked phenomenal last week. The passing offense looked very good. 9th, 237.7 yards per game. Rushing offense, still just 25th. They don't get a ton of yards, Kyron Williams, but he scores touchdowns and the job gets done. Red zone offense, 13th at 57.1%. Third down offense, just 22nd at 36.7%. Their defense is not good. Their pass defense is 23rd in the league, allowing 224.7 yards per game. Their rush defense is 5th worst in the league, allowing 141 yards per game on the ground. Their red zone defense is 8th. They're strong there. They only allow touchdowns 50% of the time. Their third down defense is 20th, allowing conversions 40.7% of the time. So that's one of the wildest games that we've ever seen, the 44-42 victory at home over the Bills. They combined for 902 yards of offense without a turnover or a quarterback sack. I mean, it's just nuts. It was wild. And I want to take advantage of the fact that these, the Rams put up 44, the Niners put up 38, because these two teams this time of year, they played unders. They always played unders. This total is going to skyrocket because of what everybody's seen. And I was like, that's fine. I'm just going to bet it again. I'm going to bet it again. If this moves up, I'm going to take advantage of what everybody saw last week. Is my thought process. Rams moved above 500 for the first time this season. Their offense was electric. Stafford 23 of 30 for 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Puka Nacua caught 12 for 162 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp caught 5 for 92 and a touchdown. Kyron did his thing, 29 carries for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's very skilled. He also caught 2 passes for 10 yards. They went 12 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down. 5 of 6 in the red zone. Dominated time of possession, 38-30 to 21-30. And the defense struggled mightily. They allowed the Bills to put up 8.2 yards per play. They allowed the Bills to go 5-9 on third down, 3-3 in the red zone. Pass rush was completely invisible. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Demarcus Robinson injured his shoulder in the third quarter. He's got AC joint sprain. He's not expected to go on Thursday. He's not expected to practice at all this week. But they're a pretty healthy squad. Let's talk about these 49ers. A passing offense, 7th in the league, 239.6 yards a game, and the rushing offense, 7th in the league, 138.9 yards per game. Doesn't seem to matter who is starting at running back. They deliver here. And we do have an issue with Guerendo. Guerendo is dealing with a foot strain. So it might be Patrick Taylor. They also have Israel Abanikanda. He was inactive last week. He's a practice squad guy. They also have Keyshawn Vaughn. He was active. He had 2 carries for 4 yards. And I'm not sure if Guerendo will be able to go. I know how thankful he is for this opportunity. And I expect him to do whatever he can to be out onto the field. Red zone offense, 22nd in the league. It's been a problem this year, 52.9%. Third down offense has been excellent all year long, 43.7%, 7th in the league. Pass defense, 3rd. Rush defense, 12th. Their red zone defense is the 2nd worst in the NFL. And it's just not getting any better. 72.1% of the time they're allowing touchdowns. Their third down defense is 27th in the NFL, 43.9%. And you could say, well, then how could you possibly be on and under in this situation? Birdie says, I've seen tweets from the running back and Shanahan. Running back says injury is not a big deal. Shannon said it was positive. They confirmed he's not practicing Monday, Tuesday. I think he plays. I think he plays too. But it's important for us to have all of the pertinent information. The Niners coming off a dominant 38-13 victory at home over the Bears, snap a 3-game losing streak. They had been outscored 73-20 in their previous 2 losses at Green Bay and Buffalo. They outgained the Bears 452-162. They outgained Chicago 319-4 in the first half. That's the 9th largest discrepancy since 1991. I mean, the Bears had 1 first down. It was wild in the first half. Brock Purdy was 20-25 for 3 touchdowns. Kittle caught 6 for 151 yards. Him and Dimador Lenoir, they held the meeting. And, you know, that meeting took place on Saturday. At that point, that meeting, when the rumors came out about that meeting, I mean, it should have just been an immediate bet on the Niners. I messed this one up.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it until after the fact.
Yeah, I'd heard about it on Saturday night. Isaac Guerendo ran 15 times for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns, caught 2 for 50. The Niners were 8-14 on 3rd and 4th down, 5-6 in the red zone, held the Bears to 3.1 yards per play. This pass rush looked dynamic despite playing without Nick Bosa. They had 7 sacks. Now, the Bears still went 2 for 2 in the red zone, which is why this total is so astronomically high for these two teams. Ben Barch, their left guard, left the game when the first half didn't return. He was starting in place of Aaron Banks. So they had Spencer Burford the rest of the way. That's their 3rd string left guard. Barch has a high ankle sprain. He's going on IR, and the season looks like it's over. The big story, though, for the 49ers is Dre Greenlaw. We expect him in the lineup here. Now, that's not being confirmed again because I kind of thought that both Talanoa Hufanga and Greenlaw would be here for Thursday night when Hufanga came in. And you touched on how much better this defense looked with Talanoa Hufanga in the lineup. So 2 spots for me. I'm on the San Francisco 49ers -2.5. I think that's a very, very nice number for the 49ers at home against the Rams. A regular season situation of which they've historically dominated. And I'm on the under 49, and if it goes up, I'm going to bet it again. Take it away, Troy. Rams, Niners.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear the noise in the background. My son's having a little mental breakdown. He's a little sick, got a little bit of a fever, so excuse me if you hear him screaming.
No, we hear nothing, and I have to go through that often, but we hear nothing. You're good to go, my man.
All right, good. That's the first time I ran into it. So Tim brings up a good point. It's like, how much are you going to make of both these two teams' last matches? Are we sold on the 49ers because they smacked up the Bears with all that their situation is not very clear at this point, right? Is it that impressive? And I think that the Rams are kind of in a similar situation, in my opinion, or at least that's how I was perceiving it. They took advantage of their situation in Buffalo. The Bills were coming off a division-clinching blowout of the same team, the 49ers. Traveling across country, they chose to sit multiple players that could have started in that game. They chose to sit them. I think the Bills were clearly in a letdown spot, and obviously, how clear was it? Because I didn't bet the Rams. But offensively, still, you don't want to take away what they did. It was impressive, but they allowed 400 yards of offense in a near-perfect game from Josh Allen. The big thing that stuck out to me, and I think is very important, I had to go clip something that I wrote about the Bills because it was interesting to me. The Rams, they still weren't able to run the football effectively at all. If you watch that game, if you look at the metrics, And in my opinion, the Bills have massive holes in the run game. That's where you want to attack. PFF grade, they're 28th in the league. They allow 19th in yards per carry. The D-line, not one of their front four have a PFF grade above average in terms of run defense. 57, 51, 43, and 64. These guys start every single game for this team. They will get, they're easy to push around is what I'm trying to say. The linebacker core, not one of the linebackers weigh over 230. Both two of them are 220. They're small. They're finesse. They're susceptible to the run, yet the Rams couldn't run the football. I feel like the 49ers, that's where their strong suit is. If you look at some of the metrics, it's definitely their coverage. And that 49ers, like you touched on the meeting that they had, I think that definitely matters when you have a team meeting, closed doors. There is something to that in terms of rallying the troops. They absolutely buried the Bears. Is it because of this newfound, camaraderie? I don't know. Brock Purdy played a near perfect game. They sacked Caleb Williams 7 times. They played very tight defense. Hufanga, his return is absolutely massive. I went back before I made this bet. I probably spent way too much time on this game today. Went back and watched film. Hufanga being able to fit the run, and play the safety position the way he does, being able to react to play action the way he does. Like, he just seemed locked in. It was his first game back. He's only been in 3 games this season. You could tell that's when the 49ers were playing good. And I think we're going to see Bosa, Trent suit up. Like, Trent Williams is probably less likely, but still likely at this point. The 49ers, I think they match up well. The 49ers run defense will be stout against this Rams team. It always is. And that's the best. That's the way you want to attack this team. And with the return of Bosa, like, they're going to put pressure on this offensive line that's 30th in pass block. And that's why Stafford is having the worst season of his career. And obviously, Hufanga in the defensive backfield will make a big difference. Everyone just watched this Rams beat the Bills. And 2 weeks ago, the 49ers got smoked by the Bills. Public coming in heavy on the Rams. Line moving towards the 49ers. Rams are 0-3 as road dogs this season, losing by 6 or more in every single matchup. And the market is bullish. You look at the history of this market, home favorites, 2.5 to 3. Line moving towards them. It's where you want to be. And the Rams on the road in primetime situations, 0-3 ATS, 0-4 straight up over the past 3 years, losing by 9 points on average. I bet the 49ers minus 2.5 and money line. I posted it 2.5 minus 110, the money line minus 140. I would agree with you on the under, but I didn't find a lot of confluence where the market currently sits. I want to see definitely how the market moves. I'm definitely leaning towards the under. You talked about these matchups. I don't want to let one loss keep me off a good bet in the NFC West.
Well, you trusted the Cardinals Seahawks under so much that you put a K on it on the live under.
On the live under. So
you trusted it vehemently, and you made a lot of money off of trusting the unders in division. The mistake here was one that I shouldn't have made in that one, and that's Birdie and others talking about, and Birdie adamant about Geno Smith indoors. That was the mistake that I made, and that's why it shouldn't have been bet. Even with another masterful indoor performance, it only landed at 48. Look, Mac Beaver says 49ers have beaten the Rams 9 straight. Rams won the last 2 straight up. I think this is exactly what Birdie's saying. He says, imagine a power ranking that is setting a line that Rams-Niners game who have not had Hufanga and Greenlaw on those metrics. Minus 2.5 is a gift. This is a great bet. I got minus 2.5 as well at minus 110. You have the money line. What was the money line at?
Minus 140. Wonder where it is now.
I might move on that tonight if it's not too costly. Or maybe I move on the minus 1. I'll make a decision. I think I'd like to have more on the Niners here. My palm's starting to leak. And I really like the under. I love taking advantage of what everybody saw last week. And again, this could blow up in my face. Vincent Hawkins loving the over. And he's not going to be alone. The public, after what they saw last week, will be hammering the over. Right now, we have 81% of the tickets and 84% of the cash. For you, Vincent, you better see a 49.5 or a 50. Because if you see this drop back down to 48.5 or 48 with 90% of the cash and money on it, I'm going to cash. So Troy on the 49ers minus 2.5 and the money line minus 140. I'm on the 49ers minus 2.5 and the under 49. Ron Crawford has the 49ers as a spreadsheet bet here. Ziggy Ball says the problem is both favorites won on Sunday and Monday night. That when that happens, the underdog usually covers the spread and wins. I don't know if could you. Ziggy, can you send me the proof of that statement? I would love to know if that's He said both favorites won on Sunday and Monday. What do you mean favorites? Because Sunday and Monday. Oh, okay. Sorry, I see what you mean. Okay, sorry. Now he just said because the favorite won on Sunday night and the favorite won on Monday night this past week, that the dog will win on Thursday night. I'd love to see more info on that. So I
could do a little research on that as the show goes. Actually,
I'd love to see if that is something. If the favorite wins on Sunday and Monday, then the dog wins the following Thursday.
What have the Rams done on the road this year that was really impressive? New Orleans, they went down to the wire. They won that game by 7 points. New England Patriots were in that game the entire time. I know some of our members cashed on the Rams that game. I don't want to take it away from you. They beat Seattle. They should have lost that game. That was one of the rare cases where I really felt very, very, very lucky to have won that spot.
Oh yeah.
They lost to the Bears. They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Lions. I mean, it's just I feel like this is a good opportunity.
I agree, and I want more money on it. I want more money on it. The only time I've had 900 on a game, I mean, I only have 600 at this point, but I've only had one game with 900 on it, and we swept the board like it was nothing. I think that this late in the season, when you have extra confidence in the situation, you should hammer it. Now, the opportunity to live bet it will exist because this will be part of our live stream here. And Birdie says, we know because of Jim's intel, the Niners have been prepping for this game for 2 weeks. This game is so important to the Niners. And the fact that they won against the Bears, I mean, no, it's so important to the Rams. I'm not saying it's not an important game, but this is everything circled. Greenlaw coming back. Bosa, we hope, will be back. We hope Greenlaw will be back. They're kind of keeping that hush-hush. The line will change when that comes to fruition here.
I want to bring something up, and I probably should have read this metric off. I talk a lot about PFF every week. I think it's the best. It's based on aggregate scoring at the individual level. So it's completely different than DVOA, which is based on the unit level efficiency metrics, right? We're looking at individual grades and how they roll up amongst the entire team. I got a little bit of some messages in the chat or in my DMs for Twitter from some of my followers, but I'm going to be talking a lot about that and how it incorporating it into the database more.
I love it. I love this game. I can't wait for Thursday night, and I want more pre-flop action on the 49ers. And again, if this goes up to 50, I'll bet it again. We have my guy Jared TG grabbed it at 49.5. I think that was Jared TG on the 49. That's our Thursday nighter. Join us here for the live stream. I can't wait for it. Rams, Niners. We move on to Sunday. We got to keep a brisk pace. 15 more games to go. 1 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs 12-1, 5-1 on the road. At the Cleveland Browns 3-10, 2-4 at home. Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, Ohio. 43 Fahrenheit showers, 10-mile-per-hour winds. With showers, there could be nothing. It could be completely fine. So we got to keep an eye on the weather, as it is a key, very key in this football game. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We'll start with the total. This total is at 45. I'm looking at a 45.5 just because that's what it opened at, a 45.5 minus 107. So at that number, 45.5, there's been an 11-cent move towards the under. On the spread, we have a 4 for the Chiefs, -4 at -110. The line's gone 4 cents in their direction. They've not covered a spread in 7 straight games. When we get to the cash flow for this one, 46% of the tickets, 50% of the cash is on the Chiefs, 82% of the tickets, and 93% of cash is on the over, which is very, very interesting. Let's roll here. Finally, though, Jim W. Putting, I can't get on the under mainly because I think the Niners D is very average. Yes, they are. And do you think that they're very average when you add Bosa, Talanoa Hufanga, and Dre Greenlaw in the lineup? Because if your answer is still yes, which is totally valid, then you're right. You're right. Not only should you bet the over, but you should probably bet the Rams. I think there's a big, enormous, monstrous difference, giant difference with those three guys in the lineup. But, again, we don't need to find the same answers. It's just about capping together. Let's get into this Chiefs-Browns spot. Let's talk about the Chiefs first. Passing offense, 13th in the league. This is yards, 227.6 yards per game through the year. 21st with rushing yards, 110.6. Red zone offense is 25th, 51%. They just continue to struggle game in and game out. And it's too late in the season to think that the sample size is the issue. They just don't have the weapons. Now, Pacheco's back, and maybe that will change, but it certainly didn't change last week. Their third down offense, first in the league, though, 52%. Passing defense is 20th. They allow 221.8 yards per game. The rush defense being strong all year, third at 88.3%. The red zone defense has been strong, 12th at 52.4%, but their third down defense, 18th at 40%. If you look at this team statistically, you would think, what are they? Are they 8-5? Are they 7-6? But they're 12-1, and that's because you have the Hall of Fame quarterback and the Hall of Fame coach. The Chiefs coming off another tight victory, 19-17 at home versus the Chargers. The 15th straight win in a one-score game over the last 2 seasons. They've now had 3 different kickers make a game-winning field goal as time expired. No other team in NFL history has ever had more than 1 kicker to do that in a single season. The offense continues to struggle. 4.6 yards per play in the victory. Mahomes was 24-37 for 210 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 4 times for 17 yards, sacked 3 times. The offensive line has not looked good over the last little while. He's been sacked 13 times over the past 3 games. That's the most he's ever been sacked in a 3-game stretch in his entire career. Kelsey led receivers with 5 catches for 45 yards. Xavier Worthy caught 5 for 41. They were just 1 of 3 in the red zone. Pacheco runs 14 times for 55 yards. Pass rush, 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. And the Chargers went 6 of 13 on third down and 2 of 3 in the red zone. And DJ Humphries left in the fourth quarter with a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable, an important piece to that offensive line. They sure looked worse when he was out. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. Passing offense, 15th, 224.5 yards per game. It's just skyrocketed with Jameis Winston at quarterback compared to Deshaun Watson. Rushing offense, 30th at 88.5 yards per game. Nick Chubb just doesn't seem to get rolling here. Red zone offense, 13th at 57.1%. They're rarely in the red zone, even with Jameis. Their third down offense is still the worst in the NFL at 28.3%. Passing defense, 13th. They allow 215.3 yards per game. Their rush defense, 22nd, 127.9 yards per game. It's funny when you look at this statistically, the only difference between these two teams defensively, really statistically, is the rush defense is much better for the Chiefs. Now, I know it's way more than that, but just with these 4 stats, I mean, you're like, well, not too much of a difference between these two defenses. Now, we know there is. The Browns come in off an ugly 27-14 loss at Pittsburgh. They outgained the Steelers 300-267, but done in by turnovers, just like the Falcons, just like other teams were this week. Winston was 24-41 for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He also ran 4 times for 28 yards. Judy caught 5 for 64 and a touchdown. Njoku caught 7 for 42 and a touchdown. He looks very good. And Chubb is starting to look a little better, but he only ran 11 times, but for 48 yards, and they were behind, so it was hard to keep running. But the Browns were just 2 of 13 on third down. It's not changing. The defense held the Steelers to just 267 total yards, 4.3 yards per play is pretty good. Pass rush only had 1 sack, but did have 7 quarterback hits. Steelers went 2 of 4 in the red zone. Mike Ford Jr. is now in concussion protocol. And that's a big loss if he's not available. Cedric Tillman is still in concussion protocol. That's 2 games he's missed, and he's still there. He's not practicing. Take it away for us, Troy. Chiefs, Browns.
This is an interesting one because, I mean, you know exactly my sentiment when it comes to these two teams. I feel like the Chiefs, they're still frauds. It's the same story. They're winning. They're not covering. Mahomes' worst year of his career, bad at the tackle position, terrible at the tackle position, and the defense is starting to show its vulnerabilities. I think the loss of Bieniemy a few years ago is really what's coming back to bite this offense. But in the Browns, I mean, they're Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, huge upside, huge downside. There's a huge volatility with these Browns on a week-to-week basis. But this just kind of feels like one of those spots where the Browns elevate. Like they did against Baltimore, winning at home. Like they did against the Steelers, winning at home, both games as dogs. It's a similar spot, in my opinion. This is just a hard matchup to get a read on. I feel like the Chiefs are definitely coming down on the market, seeing this 4 on the road against a team like the Browns. Now the Browns do have that huge upside, so maybe it makes a little bit more sense than I'm thinking. But I think a few weeks ago we would have seen a 6.5 right now with this number. So it's like I'm not ready to sell the Chiefs right now. And honestly, I'm leaning towards the over. I don't lean towards over very often, but this Chiefs defense is weak in the secondary. That's where they're vulnerable. The Browns, they can't run the ball. They're going to drop our guy, Jameis Winston, back 40 times. When they if it's incomplete, the clock stops. If they turn it over, that increases the likelihood the Chiefs are going to be scoring, right, and have good field position. And the current market in its current state says it's going to be an over. Teams that open and close between 3.5, plus 3.5, and plus 4.5. The road team is 17-12 ATS in that situation, 22-7 straight up, but 21-6 to the over. If the game is not in prime time, 15-2 to the over, and And if the total's over 41, 14-0 to the over. So what happens in that sample when the market moves toward the under? Still 4-0 to the over. 80% of cash on the over, 8-0 to the over. 80% of tickets on the over, 8-0 to the over. Like, you can just go up and down the list, find a bunch of trends that point to the over, and that's hard because the entire sample unfiltered is basically saying past 3 years we're going under the total. So anytime you find something like this, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It makes me want to bet the over.
None of you liking the over. I think I need to sit with this game for longer. The only angle I don't see, honestly, is backing the Browns. That's the only angle I'm not. I can see both sides. Rand saying the total is too high. I can see both sides with the total. And the Chiefs need to get right. They need one of those get right games. And it's weird saying that about a team that's 12-1. Is this the one? Is this the spot?
It just feels like that's too far gone now to even suspect that that's going to happen at this point.
That's fair. 7 straight games they haven't covered.
But exactly. That's a career high for Andy Reid. You don't want to bet against that at this point. You don't want to catch, but at the same time, you don't want to catch a falling knife. So it's a really, really, really tough on the side. I
find it tricky. I mean, Francis the sis says, is this really a hard read? Laughing, but he's not giving us his angle.
Yeah, this is a hard read.
I find it a very hard read. Coin, we need to keep an eye on the weather, but right now it's 10-mile-per-hour winds and there's showers. It's raining before the game. It's supposed to stop raining during the game, but it's Tuesday, so let's wait a little closer here.
And with the over, I don't think both teams are not going to be able to run the ball. We're going to see a lot of throwing. We know that the Browns are susceptible to massive plays and coverage breakdowns and lapses, and that's going to happen when you're playing cover zero, blitzing, and leaving your guys on an island. It just feels like it could be a get-right game where the Chiefs put up a lot of points. It also feels like the Browns are going to be throwing the ball around. I probably should move.
Francis says this is the Chiefs all the way. Francis, and you don't need to be honest with me if you don't want to, whatever, but how many times have you bet them over the last 7 games? I'd be curious. Because during the first 5 losses of the spread, Troy has faded them every single week. And it was my fault basically that he didn't fade them last week, but he'd fade them every single week. And the whole chat was saying, you guys what are you doing? You're just giving your money away. Why are you fading Mahomes every single week? People said it to us every single week. And then they stopped and they stopped. And now we saw 50-50 2 weeks ago. Last week, we saw the public fading the Chiefs. So I find it tricky. And I cashed fading the Chiefs 4 times and I never was on them once. The 2 times I stayed off, faded them 4 times. But then last week I was on them. My pops was on them, and I sent in my pops' action, and it lost. So I find it very difficult. I want to sit with the Chiefs longer here because I can see this. I can see this going over, and I can also see. I can also see our guy what Nutflush is saying. Nutflush is saying, I can see it. He thinks that there could be, with both these teams putting up low numbers last week, I see a big number coming. So, yeah, I get it. All right, let's roll on here. No action from us in Chiefs Browns. Let's roll. We move on to the next spot on the board, 1 p.m. Eastern. We have the Cincinnati Bengals 5-8, 4-3 on the road at the Tennessee Titans, 3-10, 1-5 at home. We're at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, 52 Fahrenheit. Chance of showers. This is another game where we got to keep an eye on the weather. It's supposed to rain up until the game starts and then stop raining, which is ridiculous to say 5 days before the game. But need to keep an eye on the weather in this one. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Bengals Titans. We have the Titans +5, -106. That's what it opened at. Now, the look ahead in this one was 3.5. It's a 5 now, and it has not moved 1 cent since this opened up. When we get to the total here for Titans Bengals, we have this at 47, juiced to the under. This opened up at 48. We've dropped to 47, and it is juiced to the under. So 46.5s are coming. Let's get into the cash flow here for the Titans-Bengals spot. We have 44% of the tickets and 87% of the cash on the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a lot. Wow. 31% of the tickets and 85% of cash on the under. Big bets have been placed on the under, and the books are really respecting it. So Vincent Hawkins loving the over here. Wait, because this is going to keep dropping at this point. Ron Crawford has Bengals as a spreadsheet spot. Jim Dewigger liking the Bengals, and Jim W. Putt says cannot play a Bengals game under regardless of the number they post. Well, you would have cashed if you bet it last game that they just played, that we just watched. Passing offense for the Bengals, first in the league, 271.6 yards per game. Rushing offense, just 29th. Chase Brown has looked quite good at times, but often that's catching the ball out of the backfield rather than running it. Red zone offense, second in the league, 69.1%. Third down offense, fifth in the league, 45.1%. Pass defense, I know, you know, Jim. Sorry, I'm just moving really quickly, Jim, my man. Passing defense, 27th at 235.2 yards per game. Rush defense, 23rd at 130.3. Red zone defense is the third worst in the NFL. Bengals allow touchdowns 66.7% of the time. Their third down defense, 26th. They allow conversions 43.6% of the time. They're coming off on a short week, a road game to another road game. This is a very difficult spot, but I can understand completely what Timothy Crowley's saying. Tim's saying Titans are dead to me. We knew Jags had no shot of getting 17. All they could do is get a 6 freaking points at home against the Jags. It was the not kicking the field goal at the end of the first half that made me want to throw something through a window. What idiocy. What idiocy when you know that the other team's having a difficult time scoring. It's just I can't comprehend that decision making, and these guys are making millions of dollars making these ass clown decisions. So let's talk about the Bengals here. Short week. You know what happened, I still can't quite comprehend. You know, you're about to get the ball back. The score's tied. It's the first play after the 2-minute warning. You have Nick Vigil blocking the punt from Rick Howe, and Oware. Like, I can't comprehend. Like even like in Little League, you're taught if you can block the punt, get away from the ball. It's a dead ball. It's a bomb. Run away from the ball. I just can't believe that he would make that decision. I just can't comprehend it. You know, and I know that he's feeling it right now. And Mac Beaver says Leon Let lives. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It happens every 30 years.
You remember the guy that was calling me out for being, wearing a tank top yesterday?
Yeah.
The guy that was worried about how my appearance, how I looked. It's a little sketchy if people worried about what I'm wearing. But yeah, he started, he's in my DMs, and he's posting on my Twitter, laughing at me, saying, "Thanks for the Bengals cash." Come on now. Even a retard would know they were lucky to cash if they were on the Bengals.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of cappers talking about, how easy it was, in the chat. But, you got to let that. It's a waste of energy to dive into any of that stuff. Now, Deron Bland shouldn't have allowed Jamar Chase to go to the house on that. Deron Bland should have been able to defend that. I mean, I was just appalled at Deron Bland. This is an all-pro. I mean, that was just horrific. But
he hasn't had a lot of reps. He hasn't a lot of reps. He was balls to the wall, not realizing it was Jamar Chase.
It was horrific. So the Bengals put up 433 total yards. Joe Burrow, 33-44 for 369 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's phenomenal. Jamar Chase, 14 receptions for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. You talked about it. You can bet his unders if it's a regular old 1 p.m. Eastern football game. But if it's a standalone game, he's going to show out. He's not happy with the Bengals, but he'll show out, when all eyes are on him. Chase Brown ran 14 times 50 yards, caught 6 for 65 and a touchdown, 4 of 11 on 3rd and 4th down, and 2 and 4 in the red zone. Not very good. The defense held the Cowboys to 5 of 14 on 3rd and 4th down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. But they allowed the worst running team in the league to put up 156 yards on the ground. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Geno Stone, had an interception. Logan Wilson, as we talked about, was put on the IR before the game with a knee injury. Season's over. Orlando Brown's missed 4 of the last 5 games with a fibula injury. You see how bad it is with him not out there. And defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins has missed 3 straight games with an illness, and it's unclear what's going on, if he'll be back or what's going on there. A shout out to Guillermo Zertucci in the house. Great to see you, G. My man. Let's move on to the Titans. That was appalling. It cost me a lot of money. It was appalling what happened in that football game. Their passing offense 29th in the league, 182.8 yards per game. Levis doesn't seem to be getting better. Rushing offense 18th at 112.5 yards per game. That's the only thing you can trust. Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears backing him up. Red zone offense 27th in the league at 47.1%. Third down offense 26th in the league at 35.3%. Horrible. Passing defense still, they're only allowing 175.5 yards per game. That's the best in the league. Rush defense 13th at 116.3. Their red zone defense is 27th. They're allowing touchdowns 65.1% of the time. Their third down defense is 9th. They're allowing conversion 35.6% of the time. The Titans coming off that ugly 10-6 loss at home to the Jaguars. The offense looked horrific against a weak Jaguar defense. 4.4 yards per play, 0 of 2 in the red zone. Levis 19 of 32 for 168 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Calvin Ridley caught 7 passes for 59 yards. Tony Pollard was great. 21 carries for 102 yards, caught 2 for 22. 8 of 16 on third down, but 0 of 3 in fourth down. We've seen that all year from them. They couldn't score points against the NFL's worst defense in yards allowed, the second worst defense in points allowed, and their defense shut the Jaguars out until the fourth quarter. Jaguars went 6 of 13 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. Chidobe Awuzie and Otis Reese had interceptions. Pass rush had 1 sack and 6 quarterback hits. So the question here is, do we trust the Titans' pass defense? We see that they only allow 175.5 yards per game. We also know that they're behind a lot of the time. They're losing by big scores. So teams don't need to air it out, don't need to take big risks against them. Because if we can trust the secondary of the Titans, then this would be an under. It would be an under. But I don't know if we can trust them. Take it away, my friend. The floor is yours, Bengals Titans.
I feel like this is another situation where I'm leaning against the sharps. There's so many situations this week. There's been weeks in the past, especially one just 2 weeks ago when I cashed. I had my biggest week of the season. I was up against the sharps. This week it just happens to be favorites. Obviously, the Bengals, we touched on it. They're extremely lucky to have won and covered. I'm still in shambles about it. But we know we're going to get elite QB play. We know they have elite weapons. Now, this isn't prime time. I don't know if we're going to get the same type of motivation out of their offense. But maybe there is some life. You've seen some happy faces after that win, and the complete opposite on the Cowboys sideline. But the problem remains. This is a bottom 3 defense at every level based on any metrics. Take it to the bank. This is a bad defense. But now this team is 7-1 ATS over the last 3 years as road favorites of more than 3. 4-0 ATS this year, and I don't see why that would change in this spot. This is not a favorable spot for the Titans from a matchup standpoint. You want to bet teams that depend on running the football. That's not the Bengals. They don't need to run the football once to be able to beat teams. This is a pass funnel defense, that is bottom 5 in pressure rate and 28th in PFF grade. I mean, this is not a defense that I'm worried about when it comes to defending the Bengals. I might have to get down on the Bengals in this matchup some way, shape, or form. Maybe a teaser, maybe a lame duck money line parlay. Will Levis is a train wreck. He misses way too many reads. I watched that entire game with the Titans. I had that passing prop to go over. So many opportunities to go over. So many opportunities to cover the spread for my guy JTB. Cashed on the double result like they should have. I feel like it's a pretty bad beat. The Jags do absolutely nothing for 3 quarters, and they put up 10 points. Now, it's the Jaguars' offense. We're talking about the Bengals in this situation. This is where the Bengals have been very profitable. Public is, as far as I seen it earlier today, was piling in on the Titans, surprisingly. Now, that might have flipped here recently, which 56% of bets are still not coming in on the Titans. There's only one way to bet this game. It's the Bengals. I'm trying to figure it out. Also, here's something from PFF for you. Home teams priced between 3.5 and 6 when the home team has an offensive grade per PFF of 25th or worse. The road team, 16-5 ATS, 19-3 straight up, 14-7 to the under. If the game is in conference but out of division, 11-3 ATS. So most of the sample is this exact type of situation. In conference, out of division, 11-3 ATS, 14-1 straight up, 11-3 to the under. I'm leaning towards the Bengals, and I'm going to try to figure out how to get on them.
What about a Bengals double result? Plus 100.
Plus 100.
Yeah. No vig.
Double results are something you want to play later in the season, especially in situations like this. This is a perfect spot for a double result. But at the same time, it's like I just can't see the Titans keeping up. I know we've seen them score points. I know we have, but you just see this guy miss too many reads.
That was also, I mean, I've only seen them score points once, and that was at Energy Stadium. Now, I'm sure they have, but that's the only time in my head I've seen them score points. And that was indoors. It's going to be, chance of showers, some wind. Shout out to Dutch Boy Fresh in the house. Birdie says on a short week, I would want to know what that number is specifically on a short week. I guess the double result is interesting. Now, do you trust the Titans secondary to slow down the Bengals, or do you think that this stat of just not allowing a lot of pass yards because they're losing and teams are running the ball against them in the second half?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, where are they here? I mean, I just feel like they're a pass funnel, man. And you get it. What do they do against the two good quarterbacks that they've played this season? They played two elite quarterbacks. The Bills smacked them by 24. The Lions smacked them by 38. So when you get elite quarterback play, get good weapons. Now it's like the cap is exactly what Bertie's talking about here. Are the Bengals going to be up in a short week with a little to nothing to play for? I mean, they definitely feel good after that win. They have playoff hopes, 9%, whatever it is. But that's the cap right there. If you think that they're going to come out and be prepared, it's got to be the Bengals.
Yeah, I hear that. Oh, Newkirk, I know that we can't rely on them, but I still think it's worth me telling them here rather than just not discussing them. But I do think it's important to get a weather report and talk about it. What up, Lex? Great to see you. I'm interested in double results. So if you had a free $1,000 bet right now on the total at 47 flat, would you be going over it or under it?
Under it. I would just put faith in the database. I would put faith in the Titans offense not being able to score very much. And we know what the Bengals offense does when they don't have to score very much. A game like they did against the Giants or the Browns, where they're just in control against a bad team. They just cruise. Not on a prime time situation. Yeah, Jimmy, I'm moving. I'm going to bet it right now. I'm going to bet a Bengals double result.
I'm interested in it. I'm going to sit with this one a little more and make a decision after the show this evening. We have Troy moving on the double result. That's at plus 100 right now at 365.
Same where I'm taking it.
Troy on the Bengals double at plus 100. We roll on. Next up for us is 1 p.m. Eastern, Washington Commanders. 8-5, 3-3 on the road. New Orleans Saints 5-8, 3-4 at home. We're at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's get into the line history here. Troy and I have already moved on this game, and I like where we're at with it. This total is 43 minus 112 to the over. We've had a 5-cent move to the over. It opened up minus 107. On the spread, we have the Commanders -7 at minus 114. This opened up at 7. It moved to 7.5 with the idea that Aiden O'Connell wouldn't be at quarterback. Now he might be at quarterback, and it moved back to 7. It's possible that he's at quarterback. I expect him not to be here. Oh, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Raiders game, the New Orleans game.
Yeah,
Jesus,
yeah.
Carr. It's both things. Carr is done. But Aiden O'Connell is going to be.
You were tripping me out for a second. I was like, wait, hold on.
My bad. Aiden O'Connell is possibly back. But here with this one, Harold Williams says it would be all. Sorry about that, you guys. It would be all over the same. It's the exact same line in the other one. But my bad. Let's get back to this one. We have Derek Carr, who's now done for the season. Now they're not putting him on IR yet, and they won't. But he's got a fracture to his non-throwing hand. But he's also in concussion protocol. So there's no way that Carr will be under center in this one. But let's get into this Commanders-Saints spot. We went over the total, went over the spread. It's back at 7. Let's get to the cash flow here for this one. 68% of the tickets and 81% of cash is on the Commanders. And on the total, oh, shoot, I screwed that up. Here, I had it all set up. On the total, we have 86% of tickets and 91% of cash on the over. The line's not moving towards that. And the Commanders coming off a bye week that they needed desperately. Let's talk about the spot. Commanders 8-5, 3-3 on the road. Saints 8-5-8, 3-4 at home. Passing offense for the Commanders 18th in the league, 220.7 yards per game. Rushing offense third, 156.9. It's hurt a little bit, both of those stats with Austin Eckler done for the season. Red zone offense 8th in the league, 60% cash rate. Scoring touchdown 60% of the time. Third down offense, 6th at 44.1% conversion rate. Passing defense is 5th. They allowed 190.7 yards per game. Rushing defense has been a problem this year. 27 allowing 137 yards per game on the ground. Red zone defense, 29th. It's been a problem all year. 65.8% of the time the opposition scores touchdowns. And their third down defense is 22nd, 41.8% of the time. They allow conversions. But they're coming off their bye week. They were last seeing an impressive bounce-back win. They beat the Titans 42-19 at home to snap a 3-game losing streak. Brian Robinson Jr. returned from the sprained ankle, and he was a monster. They, as a team, put together 267 yards rushing. He put up 103, and his importance is heightened with Austin Eckler out. Jaden Daniels really needed the week off. He's been dealing with the rib injury. He's starting to roll. He's starting to feel better. The kicking game continues to struggle. Zane Gonzalez missed 2 field goal attempts, filling in for Siebert. Siebert went on IR after he missed the extra point that would have tied the score in the final minute against Dallas, saying he has a groin injury, so he's on IR now, and Zane Gonzalez is performing poorly. Also, Andrew Wiley out with the concussion, so Cornelius Lucas took his spot and did a great job. The offensive line was strong. And we have Marshawn Lattimore, who will be making his debut against his former team. So, everything that Adam Peters has done has worked. So the question is this going to be another feather in Peters' cap? Wagner, Ertz, Luvu, Chin, Fowler, Eckler, it's all working. Wagner, Chin, and Luvu are the top 3 tacklers on the roster. Dante Fowler leads the team with 8.5 sacks. Ertz is second in yards receiving and touchdown catches. I mean, Peter's done a hell of a job. Let's talk about the Saints here. We have them coming in off an ugly 14-11 victory at the Giants. Troy cashing with the Giants. Each team averaged just 4.4 yards per play. And now we won't have Derek Carr at quarterback, but we don't know exactly who will be there between Haener and Spencer Rattler. I have no idea. Everyone's trying to find out. I suspect they're going to use both of them. That's why they haven't made the announcement yet, which I don't think necessarily works, but that's my expectation here. Let's talk. We don't need to talk about the passing offense here because it is worse, without Carr. But the rushing offense, 10th in the league, 128.7 yards per game. That will suffer because they'll load up the box and say, dare Haener or Rattler to hurt them. Their red zone offense, 7th. That's not going to continue. Third down offense, 17th. We don't even need to talk about that. Their passing defense and rush defense, they allow a ton of yards, but they get the job done at crunch time. They're 8th red zone defense, 50%, and they're 9th in their third down defense at 35.6%. So here we have Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Juwan Johnson stepping up last game. Are they capable of doing that with Haener or Rattler? The answer is no. Kamara ran 17 times for 44 yards, caught 5 passes for 35 yards. The offense was just 5 of 16 on third and fourth down. The defense held the Giants to 5 of 19 on third down, 1-3 in the red zone, but who cares? That's the Giants. Pass rush only had 2 sacks, but they did have 13 quarterback hits. Demario Davis had an interception. I'm not sure why I'm afraid of the 7. I'm not sure. I really am not sure why I'm afraid of the 7. But I'll tell you, Troy and I have both moved on the Commanders' double result. And I just think this is a smash and grab. I did bet a little more than a unit on this. But I've been hesitant about the 7. I don't know why exactly. I thought maybe I should talk it out before moving on such a big favorite. Take it away for us here, Troy. We have the Commanders heading to the Superdome.
I think that the double result makes a lot of sense, especially when you look at the Commanders early in games. They do get out to leads, especially when they win the football game. And coming off that huge win, it's great that they have a bye week to kind of offset the emotions that kind of balance it back out. And I think that the bye week came at a perfect time. I mean, we know Dan Ribbs has this cartilage injury. Now he's coming off a bye week. I've had this cartilage injury. Having a week full of rest he's going to feel like $1 million. No, it's probably going to regress once he starts taking hits, but it won't be right away. Saints coming off this win on the road is a perfect spot. They cashed against New York Giants, who are the worst team in the league right now. And obviously no Derek Carr. It's just a weird spot because of that. Like fading a backup quarterback on the 7 just kind of seems a little sketchy because of historically it just hasn't worked out, fading backup quarterbacks. I typically want to take dogs home dogs north of 6, but not with this decimated team. They're missing way too many pieces offensively to feel comfortable with. You take away their run game option, what are they going to be able to do in this game? We have a smart defensive coordinator who's going to know exactly how to approach this type of offense. And the Commanders, I mean, they are 3-1 ATS and 5-0 to the over on the road. Still a team that I think is kind of overpriced in the market, and they have been for a long time. The defense is extremely vulnerable, and the Saints are just not a team that's equipped to take advantage of that. The Commanders just ran the ball for 267 yards and 6 yards per carry against the Titans, who are known to be a pass funnel, are known to have a great defensive front, a front seven. That's not going to be the case. The Saints are the worst run defense in the NFL. I'm right there with you, Jim. I got the Commanders double result. I got the Commanders, Falcons, money line parlay. And if you look at road favorites of 3 or more, when their defensive ranking, right? So you got a big road favorite with a bad defense, PFF grade of bottom 10 in the NFL, 8-3 ATS, 12-1 straight up. So I do like the double result a little better than the spread.
Brady says, again, not betting advice, but this line is inflated to Washington. Not taking anyone off him, and says he might be on them, but I know I'm getting a bad line going in. You know, that is exactly why we're both not on the 7. I mean, so we got Commanders double result. Troy got -139. I got -138, and I bet a little more than a unit on it. Washington, Atlanta is your money line parlay, Troy?
Yep.
And what's the number at?
Falcons. I think it was -110. Let's see. Commanders, Falcons -110.
All right, we are in business here. I think I'm just going to leave it then. I think I'm just going to leave it at this point. I feel very comfortable with it, and I think I'm just going to let this one go. Brady's saying Saints team total under looks is another really good look. I kind of like that.
His rule. Jim would have to break his rule to do that.
Yeah, I don't ever bet the unless, and I've done it previously quite often when there is a quarterback change to a quarterback that I don't think is capable at all. That's when I have taken very low team totals under, and I've done pretty well with them. But yeah, the New Orleans team total, I have some fear that, you know, if the Commanders do destroy them, that there could be some garbage points in the fourth. I like the double result, and I think that's where I leave it. Troy using Washington with Atlanta on a money line parlay. We roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Baltimore Ravens 8-5, 4-3 on the road at the New York Giants, 2-11, 0-7 at home. Home being MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, 47 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 5-mile-per-hour winds. Let's roll on to the next spot here, the line movement. Great to see you, Mel. I think your action makes sense. I like it. Let's roll here. Ravens, Giants. We have a enormous spread. You see 15s across the board. The book I'm looking at opened up at 14 at a pick'em, and now it's 14.5. But that 14.5 is juiced to the Giants. So they're the lone book that I see that's not moving this to 15. Oh, no, there's another book that's at 14.5, another offshore that's at 14.5. But most books are at 15, line moving slightly towards the Ravens. From a total perspective, this is a 43.5. It's slightly juiced to the over. There's been a 1 cent move towards the over. When we get to the cash flow, then for this spot, we have 46% of tickets, 56% of cash on the Ravens. On the total, we have 84% of tickets and 85% of the cash on the over. It's not moving in that direction. We'll start with the Ravens coming off their bye week. Their passing offense 5th in the league, 243.4 yards per game. Rushing offense 2nd, 179.1. Their red zone offense the best in the league, 75% conversion touchdown rate. Their third down offense 3rd. They convert 46.3% of the time. Passing defense is still allowing more yards than any other team in the league at 264.9, while their rush defense is the stingiest, only allowing 82.7 yards. Their red zone defense has been a problem all year, 18th. They allow touchdowns 56.1% of the time. Their third down defense is 24th. They allow conversions 42.9% of the time. That's why they're 8-5. That's why they're 8-5. Their pass defense poor, their red zone defense poor, and their third down defense bad. But they're coming off their bye week. They're last seen a 24-19 home loss to the Eagles. They're 2 games behind Pittsburgh for the AFC North lead, and they get the chance to face Pittsburgh at home on December 21st. Pittsburgh has just a very, very, very difficult schedule coming up. If you go right now to the futures market, it's interesting to see where this is because of how difficult Pittsburgh's run is. Pittsburgh's minus 225 and the Ravens are plus 175 right now for the AFC North. It's up for grabs. Lamar Jackson, third in MVP race. He's on pace for a career best passer rating, 116.3, 29 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's been phenomenal. He has a quarterback rating of 91.8 on throws outside of the pocket. That's the best in the league. Derrick Henry's been a monster, 1,407 yards in 13 games. And after looking so bad all year, the Ravens defense has been better. So looking at the full game stats doesn't really give you the right idea. They've held 4 of their last 5 opponents under 24 points. Marlon Humphrey's been unbelievable. He's right now, the second highest coverage grade among all quarterbacks, according to Pro Football Focus. 5 picks this year. He's a throwback. So what are the problems? There are problems. Justin Tucker is a liability all of a sudden. He's missed 8 field goals and 2 extra points this season, and there's nothing they can do, really. It's too late in the season. A replacement kicker is probably not as good as a scuffling Justin Tucker. He's earned the right to kind of figure this out. And then they suspended newly acquired Deontay Johnson after he refused to enter the game against Philadelphia. So there are some issues here, but the defense is getting stronger. The offense is a juggernaut. And now they come in off a bye and a loss to face a Giants team coming off their 8th straight loss, with the passing offense 28th in the league, rushing offense 15th. Tyrone Tracy's looked quite a bit better. Their red zone offense is the worst in the league. They score touchdowns 41.7% of the time. Their third down offense 24th at 35.9. Passing defense is 6th. They allow 194.7 yards per game, but that's because teams are always ahead of them. Their rush defense is 29th because, you just keep running at them. 141.7 yards per game they allow. Their red zone defense, third down defense isn't bad. Their numbers are actually getting worse. Right now, red zone defense 14th and third down defense 15th. They had the ball at their own 27 with 1 minute and 21 seconds to play. Now they're only 1 loss away from tying their franchise record losing streak right now. They drove all the way down to the Saints 12. And hard to imagine how many of these kicks are getting blocked in the most crucial spot in the game. Gano's kick getting blocked by Brian Bressie was shocking. Absolutely shocking. Drew Lock was 21 of 49 for 227 yards. He also ran 5 times for 49 yards. Malik Neighbors caught 5 for 79. Tracy ran 16 times for 45 and a touchdown. Caught 5 passes for 79. I don't think that's right. I think he didn't. I don't think he caught for 79. I think I know Neighbors caught for 79. I think Tyrone Tracy caught for like 39 or something like that in a touchdown. The Giants were just 5 of 19 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The defense held the Saints to 5 of 15 on third down, but let them go 2 of 2 in the red zone. That was the difference in the game. The pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Trey Hawkins ended the Giants' NFL record run, 11 straight games without an interception. He picks off Carr in the third quarter at the Giants' 17. It was their second interception of the year, and then he suffers a fractured lumbar spine. He's done for the season. They have a ton of players hurt. Jermaine Illuminor missed the second straight game. Bobby Okereke missed another game with the back injury. So that was the first game he's missed in 2024. But when I say another game, it looks like he might not be able to. He didn't practice all last week. He hasn't started practicing this week. You have John Runyon at left guard, who left the game with an ankle injury. Their center, John Michael Schmitz, left with a shoulder injury. Their safety, Tyler Newman, left with an ankle injury. They're all listed as questionable. Drew Phillips at cornerback and left tackle Chris Hubbard aren't playing right now. Shoulder injury and knee injury, respectively. How bad are the Ravens going to beat the Giants, Troy?
You just look at this price. Birdie was talking about it in the chat. Double-digit home dogs out of conference are 6-0 ATS over the last 3 years, 1-6 straight up. But we're talking about 100% ATS trend, and this would be the biggest spread for a home team in the past 3 years. I think it's getting a little bit outrageous. Just home dogs, like the biggest home dog was 14, so we're not too far away from where a normal number would be, where there's 6 games in that sample, but. You look at the matchup, it's pretty easy to find reasons to justify this spread. The Ravens coming off a loss and a bye week, Giants coming off a heartbreaking loss. Where's their motivation going to be? And that's something I was wondering when I was backing them. And you look around at who's starting on their defense right now, and it's a bunch of guys who've been in the year for 3 years or less. Over half of the guys have been in the league for 3 years or less. So you got guys that are going to be trying to prove themselves. and get $1 million deals in the NFL. Like, this is their opportunity, and a bad team that's tanking for a defense to step up. Now, I really don't have hope for the offense. I would rather see, if I was backing the Giants, I'd rather see DeVito out there, to be honest. I just don't know if the Giants are going to be able to score with the Ravens, because sometimes they get too lost in the numbers. This probably should just be a pure bet on the market on the Giants plus 15. But it's like, I just cashed with the Giants. I feel kind of lucky to have done that. So I'll take my Giants money and run. Yeah, it's a tough game. For right now, I'm not moving on it.
What about the under? I mean, I just don't. I don't see the Giants scoring much, and I don't see the Ravens running up the score when they have the biggest game of the year on deck at home against the Steelers. They're just going to run the ball, run it. And, you know, the Giants' rush defense is bad. I mean, but I mean, the clock's going to be moving nonstop. What do you think of the under? Or maybe it's a live bet on the under after the Ravens go down and score immediately.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I find the 43 to be very low, and suggesting the under is the right play. That's how I felt off the rip. But these bigger numbers typically go over at a higher rate, but not in this case. Actually, it's a lot of 50-50 on the total in the database. So I'm not saying I don't like the under. I could just totally see the fact that the Giants won't be able to run the ball in this situation. Part of the reason why I like them against the Saints is because the Saints are cupcakes in the front seven. They allow line yards. The Ravens aren't allowing line yards. But what happens when the Ravens get out to a big lead? I think the back door is going to be open. We've seen the Giants move the ball down the field the past few weeks late in the game in garbage time, right? So I get scared about the total. I guess the 15-point spread is kind of shaking me off, because it's the first time we've seen this type of number for a home dog.
The Ravens statistically don't deserve to be this big of a favorite.
Agreed.
But look, I'm not gonna go bet the Giants. And Jim W. Putt says they'll run it for 400 yards, put up a lot of points. They could put up 30 and the under would cash.
And it's not like, if you watch the Giants play defense, their run defense was very good, very impressive, like way above my expectations, to be honest. Like, they were solid. They had the best defense against the Saints run game that I've seen all season.
Jim W. Putz says Harbaugh doesn't takes foot off the pedal. Look at the game versus Denver. They buried them. Well, that's true. I'm going to take a little more time on this, but I like the under here. I like the under here. Now the weather's quite nice for this time of year. So that's a problem. But the Giants, if they play with any heart, and the Ravens just want to move on healthy, I'm interested in the under. All right. Timothy saying I lost a lot of money on Kamara props last week because I expected him to dominate a Lawrence-less Giants defense. That's another thing. Tomorrow's injury report I need to see before I move on this under. D. Jenkins says Giants playing with heart. Yeah, I saw them playing with heart last week. They were trying. Their coach is trying. Now that was just last week. We know they were called out, 3 weeks ago for not playing with heart. But I mean, I thought they fought hard in that football game. But it's a legitimate question you're asking. All right.
The last four markets in this exact profile, and there's not many games, right? And actually 3 of the 4 are goddamn primetime games, surprisingly enough. 2 games landed on 40, 2 games landed on 46. The totals were between 41 and 45.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like it's going to be really tight. It's going to be a sweat.
Yeah, it's going to be a sweat. Okay, I'm very interested in it. I expect it's going to make my card. I do want to see what happens with this market because I imagine the public is going to be betting the over. And at this point, they are 84% tickets, 85% cash. So
also, the road team won by 12, by 13, by 14, and by 2. So wow. It's a sharp market. It's a sharp market.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's roll on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern with the Dallas Cowboys 5-8, 4-2 on the road. The Carolina Panthers 3-10, 2-5 at home. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is a very interesting football game. I mean, I can't wait to talk this one out. I've now cashed with the Panthers, 4 straight weeks, or is it 5? 5 straight weeks. And, there was some uncomfort going back to them last week again, but it's just like Wu-Tang Clan, man, again and again. But I won't do it until we talk this one out here. It's not comfortable weather-wise. 51 Fahrenheit, rain, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here in this one. We have this total at 43.5. It's minus 108 to the over. Opened up at minus 107, now minus 108. So a very, very slight move towards the over. On the point spread here, we have Dallas at +2 at +108. It's a 2.5, but the 2 is just to get an example of this line at the 2 because other books moved 2.5. At the 2, this opened up at a pick'em. There's been 12 cents of movement towards the Carolina Panthers. 12 cents of movement towards the Campers. Jim Dewigger says make it 6 here. Let's roll. Oh, let's go into the cash flow. Sorry, cash flow wise, we have. Oh, sorry, that's a little too far. We have 82% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on the Cowboys. They're a public spot early, just 6,583 tickets in, but they're public early. You have 18% of tickets and 68% of cash on the under. Start with the Cowboys. Passing offense, 10th in the league, 231.4 yards per game. Dougie Wise says, think Cowboys lay down. It's possible. This is not a happy group. Rushing offense, 28, 91.2 yards a game, but we've seen Rico start looking much, much better over the last little while, especially last game. He was great. Red zone offense, still horrific, 31st in the league, 44.4% of the time they score touchdowns. Their third down offense, 27th in the league. They convert 35.3% of the time. Their pass defense is 22nd. They allowed 223.4 yards per game. And their rush defense is 30th, allowing 141.9 yards per game. Red zone defense is the worst in the NFL. They allow touchdowns 74.4% of the time. And their third down defense is 5th. They only allow conversions 34.6% of the time. The Cowboys coming off a heartbreaking 27-20 loss at home to the Bengals. We've talked about the Nick Vigil block and the Amani Oruware decision to try and play the ball. It's still just mind-boggling, but that one hurt. Hurt Bankroll, hurt the football team. And we all know what happened 3 plays later. Burrow took care of business. And Duron Bland looked like an ass clown defending it. Cooper Rush was 16 of 31 for 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. CeeDee Lamb caught 6 for 93 and a touchdown. He was the only weapon other than Rico. 18 carries for 131 yards, caught a 10-yard pass. He looked very good. Cowboys were just 5 of 14 on 3rd and 4th down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. The secondary struggled mightily to contain Jamar Chase. We thought the secondary with Trayvon Diggs coming back would look stronger. Maybe it did, but they sure couldn't control Jamar. They held the Bengals to 4 of 11 on 3rd and 4th down and 2 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Malik Hooker had an interception. But they lost to Marvin Overshown to a right knee injury in the 4th quarter. He'd been a big energy pulse for them. He has been so good, and now he tore the ACL, the MCL, and the PCL in his right knee. Sucks. 90 tackles, 56 solo, 5 sacks. He returned that interception for a touchdown last week. Now, DeMarcus Lawrence, his practice window was activated last week. He hasn't played since week 4. I don't know. With this team out of it, I don't know if he's going to try to come back. I don't know exactly what's going on here. So here we go. We'll talk about the Carolina Panthers here. Passing offense, 27th league, 186.8 yards per game. Bryce Young looking very good. Leggett should have made that catch. He should have made that catch. Should have cost that ass clown $3 million. Rushing offense, 22nd, 106.2 yards per game. The red zone offense now 16th, 56.8%. Adam Thielen's playing like a man possessed, like a man who knows I only got a few games left in my career and my young quarterback's balling. Third down offense, 28th in the league. They only convert 35.2% of the time, but they're much better. Their pass defense, 12th in the league, 214.3 yards per game. It's not a true stat just because teams aren't throwing on them because in most of the season, now they are late, but most of the year they were just running the ball down their throat in the second half. Rush defense is allowing 170.1 yards per game. That's the worst in the league. Red zone defense 26th. They allow touchdowns 63.6% of the time. Their third down defense is the worst in the league. They allow conversions 47.7% of the time. Coming off 22-16 loss to Philadelphia, Bryce Young 19-34 for 191 yards, touchdown, a pick. Thielen caught 9 for 102. And Chuba Hubbard was my mistake. Shout out to Justin McKelvey, because Justin, from our breakdown, took the Panthers plus the points with Hubbard over passing and receiving. I was only going to take us over rushing, but I got cold feet, and I shouldn't have. We've seen the best rush defenses in the league start to show some wear and tear late in the year. And I should have been on Chuba. That really...
offensive line is no joke, Jimmy. It's no joke. They're a top 10 run blocking offensive line.
Yeah, and we saw it with Chuba. 26 carries for 92 yards, touchdown, caught 4 for 15. The offense was 10 for 21 on 3rd and 4th down against the Eagles. Against the Eagles defense, Fangio's defense. They also went perfect 2 for 2 in the red zone, held the Eagles to just 292 total yards, but allowed them to go 7-12 on 3rd down, 3-3 in the red zone. Pass rush was strong, 4 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Now Raheem Blackshear suffered a chest injury. We're not sure how long he'll be out. Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL in the same knee tore in that final season at Texas. So he's going to be out a long time. JC Horn hurt his groin. We need to know if he's going to be in the lineup, because he's been excellent. He's been so good. He's just day to day, so he could be there. Jadeveon Clowney missed the game with a knee injury. And this was the surprise. Canales thought he practiced all week, so Canales thought he was playing, and he was surprised that Jadeveon Clowney said he wasn't playing. So I don't know what's going on there. If it's DJ Johnson and Cam Gill, replacing Jadeveon Clowney, the defense takes a hit. But let's forget about JC Horn and Jadeveon Clowney. After saying everything out loud, how the hell am I not on the Panthers? This team is trying. They're fighting. They care. They want it. What if it's pouring rain out there? The Cowboys are going to come out and care? Yeah, why am I not on them already? Because the Cowboys just had their still beating heart ripped out of their chest like a Mortal Kombat move. You think that they care going in to play Carolina? Because I know the Panthers care. Why am I not on them already, Troy?
I just feel like it's a tough spot. I feel like it's a tough spot. Trust me, I really wanted to get there, especially seeing all the action apparently coming in. Birdie seems to disagree, but apparently coming in on the Cowboys. It's a really tough spot. I mean, both teams are coming off losses that should have been wins. I've been backing both these teams over the past 3 to 5 weeks, and I feel like those two variables make it really hard for me to quantify this matchup. I think we're going to see a more inspired effort from the Panthers. Clearly, they've been teetering on a win for too long now. They did get 2 wins, then they've been teetering on a win versus playoff caliber teams, whereas the Cowboys looked absolutely broken after the last 2 minutes of the game against the Bengals. You've seen our guy Micah Parsons rush off the field, not shaking up, not dapping up with anybody. The problem is the database. Like, it depends on how you look at what the Panthers are. Because if you look at aggregate rankings, obviously we're looking at a different Panthers team than they were early in the season. Is this a bottom 10 team in the NFL, Jimmy? Would you say the Panthers? Or would you say they're more around league average?
Right now, I'd say they're league average.
Yeah, so a lot of these metrics don't really matter, but I do see that I see all profitable angles on a teaser leg. The best one being a 43-6 angle on the Panthers with a teaser on a teaser leg. But I do see ATS trends. If you consider them a 500, mediocre average football team, maybe slightly below average, it's a favorable spot for the Panthers. Now, if you're saying they're a bottom 10 football team and they're laying points, it's devastating. If you're backing the Panthers. So it's really a hard cap, in my opinion. What are we going to get from the Cowboys? It's either going to be a pissed off effort after taking a loss, but I don't think that's what it's going to be. I don't know what to expect, Jim. I'm passing on this game.
It's interesting. Wager Talk's live screen, which is free, has completely different numbers than something that costs $100 a year. I'm not saying, So here at the Action Network, it says that 82% of the tickets and 77% of cash are on the Cowboys. It also says that 38% of the tickets and 84% of the cash is on the Cowboys money line. So it's very interesting. Birdie's absolutely right. So Birdie says they held the Bengals 3 times in the fourth quarter. and took it. Explain that more. Cross-check how those books do every week. Will you explain that more, Bertie? Do you know what he means by I challenge you to go cross-check how those books do every week?
No.
Can you explain that, Bertie?
I mean, I have the same numbers as you, Jim, and I know that what I use is looking at an aggregate number of multiple books: Bet365, BetMGM, DK, WinBet, ESPN Bet, FanDuel, Bally's, Bet Rivers. So there's a lot of books that funnel into the one I'm looking at. And it's very similar to what you report on.
It's all good though. We don't need to get into this stuff because it's we never know what numbers to trust. But what Bertie's saying here is he says they held the Bengals 3 times in the fourth quarter, took a random block field goal to mess it up for Dallas to lose that game. Dallas was the better team. Dallas are still playing. You are absolutely right. In a spotlight football game with all of the eyes on them against a team that's not playing defense, they stepped up. Like we expected. We bet them
with playoff hopes.
Now Bertie's right. They could go into Philadelphia and win in week 17, saying that they can't. And they could sweep the board here. But I have D Jenkins. No, I feel like I missed the boat whenever I try to reach after missing it when I should have bet it after he fumbled in overtime. I just makes me uncomfortable. But what I'm trying to say is now on a nondescript 1 p.m. game, where there's 10 other games going on at the same time in the pouring rain against one of the worst teams in the league, are they going to be able to step up? And my answer is no. No, I know you are, Bertie. I love capping with you. You guys, sometimes on these Tuesdays, just because I've spent, every single waking second capping these games, I'm just like drained. So I don't handle things properly in the chat, and I'm emotional, and it's just because how important when you put all this work into it, you want to see the fruits of your labor. So
on the road, non-prime time, playoff hopes are dead against
in the rain against the worst team in the league.
And guess what? I mean, we haven't seen a rushing attack quite like the Panthers are going to put out there against this Cowboys team. I mean, the closest thing is the Commanders, and we know that was a different situation with some of the injuries they had in the backfield.
And think about this here. So I do not think the Cowboys are going to be excited to play here. The Panthers are. Cowboys are coming to town. We want to show people what we've become. I'm going to bet the Panthers here. I will challenge the Cowboys to come in and try here against the worst team in the league in the rain. And Bertie says, for me, it's Cowboys are pass because I'm never betting the Panthers as a favorite. It changes the cap, in my opinion. No, that's absolutely completely legitimate. But
the Panthers, I mean, they've been favored. They weren't the only favorites once over the past 3 years or something like that. I got you. Let's see. Panthers is favorites. So we're going to have a 1-game sample or something like that. Oh, no, I got 2 games here. They're 0-3 ATS. Now that's 2022 Panthers, right? So I put a line through any of that. Week 1, weeks 4, and weeks 15. And week 15, it was against the Steelers. They lost by 8. It was a close game.
We need to move on and not spend too much time here, but this is not a bet with the house's money because I've cashed the Panthers 5 weeks in a row. That's why I'm not already on it. If this was with the house's money, I would have already bet it, and I would have told you guys I would come in here, guns blazing. Panthers have done this for me. This is just a new set of circumstances, and I am betting the Panthers. All right, let's roll on. I'm going to bet on the Panthers tonight. They're just playing with heart, and that's what I'm looking for. All right. And Ron Crawford says, revenge, Dallas 33-10 at Carolina last year. Okay, let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, New York Jets 3-10, 1-6 on the road. Jacksonville Jaguars 3-10, 2-4 at home at Everbank Stadium, Jacksonville, Florida. 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here. That was a fun cap. I enjoyed that very much. We have the Jets at a very juiced 3. Some books have it at 3.5, but that 3.5 opened up at 8:30 this morning as a legit one. The Jets were minus 102, Jacksonville was minus 110. And then at that plus 3.5, there was a huge move on Jacksonville, a 12-cent move at 1:45 p.m. Now it's being bought back 5 cents. This is another fascinating situation. Let's get into the total here. this total is sitting at. Oh, sorry. The hell. Here we go. That total is sitting right now at 40. It's juiced to the over. We see 40.5 in most books. There's been a 5-cent move to the over. The very interesting thing, though, and it's so important, at least for me, when I look at my results, the initial move was towards the under. This moved 11 cents towards the under in the first hour that it was available. Then the over bettors came in. So right now we've had a 5-cent move to the over. Let's get into the cash flow here for this spot. Cash flow wise, Jets, Jaguars, we have the 53% of tickets, 71% of cash on the New York Jets, 26% of tickets, and 82% of cash on the under. 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. We're going to start with the Jets passing offense, 19th in the league, 212.8 yards per game. Aaron Rodgers just ended his 34-game regular season drought without a 300-yard passing game. He went 27-39 for 339 yards and a touchdown. Their rushing offense, second last in the league. And this, I should have, as soon as Breece Hall, who's underachieved all year, left, now you got two kids that want the opportunity desperately, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. I should have been on running props on both of them. It made so much sense psychologically. Now, here, it's a little different, coming in as favorites in Jacksonville, Florida, when, even the Jets fans don't want to travel anymore to watch them. Red zone offense, 52.4% for the New York Jets, bottom third in the league there. Their third down offense, 13th in the league at 39.2%. Passing defense, fourth. They allow 186.9 yards per game. Their rush defense, 16th. They allow 119.9 yards per game on the ground. Red zone defense is 21st. They allow touchdown 60.9% of the time. Their third down defense being pretty good all year, 12th at 36%. They come in off a tough 32-26 overtime loss to the Dolphins. They put up 402 yards. Garrett Wilson caught 7 for 114. Devontae Adams caught 9 for 109. I mean, that's what we thought we were going to get, when Devontae Adams first came over. Braylon Allen had 11 carries for 43 yards, caught 4 for 38 yards. Isaiah Davis ran 10 times for 40 yards and a touchdown. He caught 3 for 27. They aren't planning to shut down Hall at this point, so but we'll have to see if he'll be in the lineup this week. They struggled when it mattered most, 4 of 12 on third down and 2 of 5 in the red zone. That cost them the game. The defense held the Dolphins to 1 for 9 on third down, but then allowed them to go 3 of 4 in the red zone. This pass rush was completely invisible. Not only did they not register a sack, but they didn't even get a hit on Tua Tagovailoa. Right tackle Morgan Moses got hurt in pregame warmups. He started, but he couldn't play. He was replaced by Max Mitchell. And Sauce Gardner missed the game after being held out of practice all week with the hamstring injury. Let's talk about these Jaguars. Their passing offense, we don't need to talk about that because, it's worse with Mac Jones in. But Mac Jones wasn't bad, 23 of 31 for 220 yards. He did throw 2 interceptions against the Titans. Their red zone offense, 17th in the league at 55.0%. Their third down offense, second worst in the league. Their passing defense, only one team allows more yards. Their rush defense is 24th, allowing 132.6 yards. Their red zone defense, 20th. They allow touchdown 60.4% of the time. And their third down defense, 28th, 44.8%. This is a bad football team. Coming off their first road win of the year, they snapped a 5-game losing streak overall. Brian Thomas Jr. caught 8 for 86, and Bigsby has clearly taken over the RB1 from Travis Etienne. Bigsby ran 18 times for 55 yards and a touchdown. Etienne did catch 4 for 50. The defense was strong throughout. Titans went 8 of 16 on third down, but the Jags held them to 0 of 3 on fourth down, held the Titans to 0 of 2 in the red zone. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. And they had to scratch Anton Harrison, their right tackle, right before the game because of a sickness. And Cole Van Lanen came in. He is a 6th-round pick in Green Bay in 2020. He's never had a start before, and he played pretty well. This is a spot, Troy, when you look at it, before you do any capping, you think, oh, got to take the Jags. Got to take the Jets here. Got to take the Jets. And I was like, do I have to take the Jets on the road? I don't know if I do, even if it makes sense from an X's and O's standpoint. Take it away for us, Jets, Jags.
I mean, I was on the Jets this past week. I pushed on the 6. I know I could have got a 6.5. Unfortunately, I got the 6. They should have won that game, and that's not a subjective statement. It's an objective statement, and I did rewrite my contract to include the cash cow market, but it got invalidated right before kickoff because we closed at 6.5. And we might have to add the home dog of 3.5 fade because these home dogs that open and close between 3 and 3.5 in non-divisional matchups are just perform terribly. ATS 15-5 ATS for the road team, 19-5 straight up, 17-7 to the under, which makes me want the under, but rarely do we have a total under 41. It's a small sample. It's 2-1 to the over. So that it just kind of takes me off the under that I want, because I don't see how the Jaguars are going to be able to put up points with Mac Jones at quarterback. And I don't know what kind of effort we're going to get out of the Jets. And actually, this Jaguars defense is really coming along the Jaguars defense has been impressive for like 3 to 4 weeks now, especially relative to their perception in the market. I mean, they're performing way above expectations. I would already be on the Jets if I could trust that the psychology was going to be there. Obviously, playoff hopes are completely dead at this point, but it would only be the Jets or the under in this game for me. No way I'm backing a Jags team off a win that they shouldn't have had.
So what's keeping you off the Jets? The fact that you can't trust that they care?
Yes, and my struggles with this team.
And
Just when I have the money, I have it in my hands. They fucking blow it.
What is keeping you off the under?
The fact that we're below 41. I think 41 is a key number, but we see a really sharp market like this low total below the 41. These are the ones that just slightly they just tick just one over. Like the last possession pushes it over the total. It's happened to me multiple times this year, 42.5 in situations like that. I don't know. It's tough to measure, because like they're talking about in the chat, the defense for both teams are questionable. Jags have been coming along. The Jets, can you trust them? They're terrible by any conceivable metric, but they're going up against Mac Jones and an offense that's floundering. So under sounds the play would be the under in this game for me.
A lot of Jags team total unders here.
Yeah, that might be it for real.
Birdie says my rolling 3 weeks is minus 2.57. Says Jets factor in the home field here. Fair should be -1. Jets. Not betting this, but it does seem like the Jags are playing pretty good the last 3 weeks. Dougie Wise considering the Jets team total under. I think the under makes sense. I think the under makes a lot of sense. I think that the Jags are able to move the ball a little bit because the Jets pass rush has been non-existent. Just because Mac Jones can move the ball a little bit, I think that just means some first downs. I don't think it means, touchdowns.
Scores. And what about the Jets' run defense, which that's been their problem all year? They go out there and lock the Dolphins up.
Yeah.
Surprise! It was just so surprising to see that, because that was not part of my handicap, even being on the Jets.
I'm interested. I'm very interested in the under in this one. Not a fun bet, but I'm very interested in it. All right, let's roll on here. Let's roll on. I'm very, very interested in the under. I'm not going to take a side in this bum fight. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern with the Miami Dolphins, 6-7, 2-4 on the road at Houston Texans, 8-5, 4-2 at home at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. This game is so interesting. I can't wait to talk about it. Let's get into the line history here. Of course, you have the Dolphins off of kind of an underwhelming victory at home over the Jets, and then you have the Texans coming in off their bye week after a series of underwhelming games.
It was an awful win.
Yeah. It was an awful win, no doubt about it. But let's get into the line history here for this one. We have this total at 47, juice to the under. There are some 46.5s on the board. There's been just 6 cents of movement, and it didn't happen until this evening. This was kind of moving towards the over. It was moving towards the over. This was moving towards the over until, I guess, this afternoon. Let's get to the spread here for this one. We have the spread sitting at +3 for the Dolphins. At the 2.5 number, this opened up as a pick'em, and then we've had 17 cents of movement towards the Texans at the 2.5, which is why there's 3s up now. When we get to the cash flow here, we have these Dolphins with 65% of the tickets and 59% of the cash, but this line's clearly moving towards the Texans. Then you have 80% of the tickets and 76% cash on the over. Let's get into the setup here for the Dolphins. Passing offense 14th, 226.5 yards per game. Their rushing offense is 24th, 105.2 yards per game. Their rushing offense has been abysmal for a while. Devon A. Chan, the only time he's getting yards is when he's being thrown to out of the backfield. Red zone offense 10th, 58.5%. And then their third down offense 14th, at 39% conversion rate. Passing defense, 11th, 212.8 yards per game. Rushing defense, 7th, 105.6. The defense being very good. The red zone defense is 6th. They allow touchdowns 48.7% of the time, and their third down defense, 4th, 34.4% of the time. Ziggy Ball's leaning to the Dolphins. That was my first thought. The Dolphins come in off an underwhelming victory, 32-26 in overtime. They didn't play very well, but Tua Tagovailoa went for 331 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the big deal was Tyreek Hill caught 10 for 115 and a touchdown. If he can heat up now, this offense can roll. Jalen Waddle caught 9 for 99 yards. Our guy Birdie gave out the Jalen Waddle 100+ at 9-1, and he missed it by a yard. I mean, he's given out some monster spots, Birdie, over the last few NFL pub-ups and just missed them by like a yard or 2 yards. The ground game, and the problem too with that was I saw 100. I looked, he was at 100, and I was like, oh, good. And then, of course, you go back and he's at 99. The ground game struggles. As a team, they ran 19 times for 44 yards. As a team, Devon Achane had 14 carries for just 24 yards and a touchdown. He also caught 6 passes for 45 yards. Dolphins were just 1 of 9 on third down, but went 3 of 4 in the red zone. This 9th-ranked pass defense allowed Aaron Rodgers to break his 34-game streak of not having a 300-yard game. Jets put up 402 total yards. The defense held him to 2 of 5 in the red zone and had 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, but did not look good. D. Eskridge and Anthony Walker got hurt during the game. Eskridge is not going to play here, and Walker is listed as questionable. The big thing here, Troy, is Bradley Chubb going to make his season debut this week? Because there's a big possibility that he does. And I don't see it being talked about anywhere. I do see it being talked about in Dolphin chats, but I don't see it being talked by any cappers here. If Bradley Chubb gets onto that field, now, of course, he won't, have a 90% snap share, but if Bradley Chubb is out there for a 50%, 60% snap share, doesn't that change this game a little bit? Doesn't it change that defense that didn't look so good with the Jets? Doesn't it inspire the squad? Now, again, we've not been told whether or not he will be in or not at this point. He could have played last week. And D. Jenkins says he didn't play last week because they said he wasn't ready yet. So let's talk about the Texans here coming off their bye week. Passing offense, 17th in the league, 221.2 yards per game. Their rushing offense just 16th at 114.1. Their red zone offense just 21st. I mean, this offense isn't very good. And with all the injuries, you could say it's below average even. Red zone offense, 21st at 53.3%. Third down offense, 21st as well. They're only converting 37.1% of the time. Their defense has been good everywhere except the red zone. They don't allow a ton of yards through the air. They're 7th in the league there. They don't allow too many yards on the ground. They're 10th there. Their third down defense is strong. They're 6th in the league, allowing conversion 34.7% of the time. It's their red zone defense that's been a huge problem all year. 28th in the league, allowing touchdowns 65.6% of the time. They were last seen in the very underwhelming 23-20 victory at Jacksonville week 13. Stroud threw for 242 yards and a touchdown against Jacksonville. So he's 4th in the NFL with 3,117 yards passing. But I don't really. I was like, what? Really? It's hard to imagine that. He is now throwing 9 interceptions, which are 4 more than he threw in 15 games as a rookie. They're still in position to win, a second straight division. They got through the Joe Mixon 3-game injury earlier in the year. They got through Nico Collins being hurt for 5 games. Mixon having a great season, 887 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, 4 touchdown receptions, 3rd in the NFL, averaging 88.7 yards a game. He's had 700-yard rushing games. They lose Stephon Diggs in week 8 to the torn ACL, and they're still rolling. Danielle Hunter has been an absolute monster for them. Absolute monster, 10.5 sacks. This team is 2nd in the NFL with 42 sacks. This team leads the NFL with 84 tackles for a loss. And Danielle Hunter has 15 this year. That's tied for 3rd most in the league. And then you add him to Will Anderson, and they're very, very good. But Azeez Al-Shaair won't be back until the final game of the year against the Titans with the 3-game suspension. So you're taking what if you take Azeez Al-Shaair off the one side and put Bradley Chubb on the other side? With just Nico Collins being the main weapon. I know there's others and Tank Dell and others, but I want to bet the Dolphins, but this line is certainly taking me off of it, and that's fine. But do you think that they're overvaluing what they just saw last week, a very underwhelming performance, and they're expecting DeMeco Ryans to have this team ready to go off of the bye? Look, we saw Mike McDonald completely change the Seahawks season off of a bye. Take it away for us here, Troy. I can't wait to hear it, Dolphins-Texans.
I was just like you. When I first started handicapping this game, I wanted to find a way to be on the Dolphins. Because, I've been talking about fading the Texans. But the more I looked into the matchup, the more I was against it. I faded the Dolphins last week. We pushed on the 6, but if you look at the noise canceled score, they lost that game. They went 1 for 9 on third down. You called it out. Outgained 6.4 to 5.7 in yards per play. They could not run the football versus a bad run defense. They got outgained by 25 yards despite the 90 yards they added to their total in the last 2 possessions of the game, one of them being an 80-yard drive in overtime. I feel like that box score, if you look at it at face value, it does say, yeah, the Jets outplayed them. But if you really look into it and you adjust for some of that stuff, I mean, the Jets should have won that game with ease. The Dolphins struggle to pressure quarterbacks. We know that. They're 20th in pass rush per PFF. They're bottom 10 in pressure rate. Give C.J. Stroud time, and I feel like he's going to be able to exploit coverages. And what coverage are we going to be seeing? Zone coverage that defend our great defense for short and the intermediate passing, right? Especially short and behind the line of scrimmage. Dolphins are great at rallying and tackling. But what happens when you have a quarterback that's throwing downfield? I talk about this Texans offense, how it takes so long for the routes to develop. Well, if he's going to have time, he's behind this bad offensive line. But if he's going to be able to have time, if Chubb's a big factor, huge factor in this. So take all what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because some of this will change with his announcement in or out. But I think this line at 3 is starting to tell me what to expect from that standpoint. We know the Dolphins are going to play man or zone coverage, and we know that I think this is a good matchup for C.J. Stroud. The Dolphins haven't faced a team that's top 10 in pressure rate all season long. The only team they have is the Jets. And I'm talking about the Dolphins offense at this point. And they should have lost this last game. The Dolphins, in general, second easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. They have not beaten any good teams. I guess the Rams, they do have a win against the Rams. That was pretty impressive. That was the most impressive win by far over the past few years. And on the road as dogs the past 2 seasons of a touchdown or less, they're 2-6 ATS. I mean, this has been the story with this team. You got the Texans coming off, arrested bye week. There's some matchups that I like. The market is obviously pretty strong in favor of the Texans. It's got to be a Texans or pass situation, but I have not moved on it. And now it's a pretty hard line 3. I'm not really interested at 3.
It's unfortunately, it's got to be the Texans, even if Chubb comes back, because what's he going to play in his first game back? He probably doesn't even play 50% of the snaps.
No, he'll play 20, 30 snaps.
So that means that it's a no-go here. Did you have any interest? I mean, I think points will be scored in this game, but you have a...
Yeah, I would agree. I would be looking towards overs in this game, but I don't... I mean, I feel like Texans would be the side more than a total. Especially, I don't like playing overs. So give me I like the Texans more than I like the total.
Vincent Hawkins looking at the over. This is a tough one. Man, Bear, Pig liking Texans on the money line. Thank you, Jim W. Putt, my man.
I mean, you see the database basically is filled with 50-50 trends, but I think that we're seeing this strong move to a 3. Like, it's got to be favorable for the Dolphins or for the Texans.
It's got to be, but I'm going to stay off at this point for sure. Let's sit with it for a little longer. Let's get into afternoon action. That concludes 1 p.m. action. We go to 4:25 p.m. Eastern with the Indianapolis Colts 6-7, 3-4 on the road at Denver Broncos 8-5, 4-2 at home. Empower Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5 mile per hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this Indianapolis Denver spot. From a total perspective, we see 44s, but there is a 44.5 move to 44.5 this morning. It's minus 115 to the under. This was a legit 44.5 though yesterday morning. This has come up from 42.5, so it's a pretty big move towards the over. On the point spread here, we have the Colts at plus 3.5. No big situation, but they've come down from 5. Mm-hmm. That's just a huge move towards the Colts. Huge move. One of those moves that you want to be ahead of, not behind here. Now, it's a very similar move to the Titans game against the Jags. And I was bullish. I was like, I'm not worried about it. I broke it all down why I thought it wasn't going to, how the Jaguars weren't going to follow up that coming togetherness after Shire, knocked out Trevor Lawrence, and the Jags didn't score until the fourth quarter and still covered. It's a very similar line here, 5 to 3.5. in this Colts Broncos spot. Let's get into the cash flow. 44% of the tickets, 78% of cash on the Broncos at this spread number. And this line is moving towards the Colts. Wild. 81% of the tickets, but just 39% cash on the over. Almost 10,000 tickets in here. Jim Dewigger says Broncos. Vincent Hawkins says Denver rolls. Let's talk about the Colts first. Passing offense, 26th in the league, 192.7 yards per game. Rushing offense, 14th, 118.8. Red zone offense, 17th. They score touchdowns 55% of the time, and their third down offense, 23rd, 36.7% of the time. They're a below average offense, but one that's been better since Anthony Richards was, a healthy scratch for 2 games in a row. Their pass defense has been bad all year. 232.4 yards per game through the air. It's hard for me to imagine this defense being as bad as they are. Their rush defense, second worst in the league, on 147 yards per game. Pipe layer in the house says he loves Denver to cover this line. And Truth Teller says this game is huge towards which of these teams make the playoffs. I bet the Colts at the beginning of the year to make the playoffs at plus 140. They have a pretty weak schedule left, but this is the team they need to catch. The Broncos are in that spot, 7th, and the Colts are 8th. Let's roll here. The Colts, though, defensively, third down defense, 29th in the league. Red zone defense, 17th. I just didn't expect them to be this bad. They come in off of their bye week here. Brady says, I was completely floored when I saw my rolling 3 here. Denver minus 2.97. So minus 3, betting the Colts in some capacity. You would want 4 or 5 here, but 4 is the key, he thinks, in this one. Cheshire Cat in the house says Knicks has been pretty damn good, though. Let's talk about the spot. Colts off their bye week. Broncos also, coming off the bye, holding the spot ahead of the Colts. Colts were last seen that underwhelming 25-24 victory at New England. Yes, it was underwhelming, but, Steichen went for a 2-point conversion. You could have lost the game, had their season over, could have won the game and had momentum going to the bye. They won the game. And I think it was a big thing, saying, I believe in you, Anthony Richardson. Go win us this football game. And he goes and does it. The Colts allowed 200 yards rushing and 422 yards overall, though. I mean, how can you trust this defense at all? I don't know. Gus Bradley, I don't know what he's doing. This defense is way worse than the sum of their parts. And everybody in the Colts, all the Colts, talk, and the Colts fan group talks, they're all begging Steichen to fire Bradley and shake up the staff. Richardson's looks much better, though. He's running more. He's running with power. He's making decisions faster. It looks like he's got a great command of the offense now. He's led 2 fourth-quarter comebacks over his last 3 games. And, he's playing well. Now, his completion percentage is horrific. He's throwing more interceptions than he has touchdowns. I mean, there's a lot of problems. But Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor are healthy, and they're rolling. We expect Josh Downs to come back healthy after the bye week. Ryan Kelly would be such a big deal if he was healthy. And I tried to find out. He had knee surgery on November 14th. He's nearing a return, but I couldn't get the information on whether he would be in the lineup at center. But Braden Smith, the right tackle, he missed the last game for personal reasons, and we expect him to be back. Quentin Nelson hurt his back early in the second quarter, but he's not on the injury report. So Quentin Nelson, all-pro left guard, will be back. The Colts finished the season against Tennessee, the Giants, and Jacksonville. So, they should go 3-1 here. The question is, could they go 4-0? They'd have to beat the Broncos here. Broncos passing offense 21st, 209 yards a game. Rushing offense 20th, 111.2. Red zone offense 15th, third down offense 18th. All those numbers have been improving. Their pass defense 19th, allowing 221 yards per game. Rush defense 6th. They allowed just 94.7 yards per game on the ground. Their red zone defense, second best in the league. It's been phenomenal all year. Their third down defense 16th. They coming off their bye week. Last seen in their third straight win, 41-32 victory at home over the Browns in week 13 on the Monday nighter. The defense allowed 552 total yards of offense to the Browns. 28 first downs to the Browns. Are we supposed to believe what we just saw? The secondary allowed a franchise record for the Browns, 497 yards from Winston, 235 yards from Jerry Jeudy, when we all knew they were going to go to Jerry Jeudy. Levi Wallace was picked on the whole entire game. So then they had to move Surtain over to Jeudy to try and contain him. Now, Riley Moss, wasn't there, Riley Moss is expected to be back here. This is a Denver defense leads the league in sacks, has returned 3 interceptions for touchdowns. Nick Benito has 11 sacks this season. He's the first Broncos player to record double-digit sacks since Von Miller and Bradley Chubb in 2018. And Bo Nix looks better each week. 17 touchdown passes. He's rolling. 2,842 yards passing. He didn't throw his first touchdown until week 4. And Mims and Sutton are a really nice combination 1-2. Take it away for us here, Troy. This is a real fascinating spot, Colts Broncos.
Man, there's some really sharp cappers that are paying attention. Like, I appreciate what I heard from Dougie and from Birdie just now in this game. I feel like this is one of the best games on the board. I really want to get my money down in some way, shape, or form because I want to watch this game and be incentivized to watch very closely. 2 teams coming off bye weeks with playoff aspirations. 2 young quarterbacks under center with good coaching behind them. And the Broncos, I think they're reapproaching again top of the market. I mean, they're big favorites against this Colts team who's been covering spreads. So how do you take that? Are they overpriced or are the bookies trying to tell us something with this number? Now, they're lucky to win and cover the last 2 games, the Broncos. They're teetering. I call it teetering, and that's a real thing. When you got teams teetering, it's only a matter of time before they topple over. They got outgained by the Raiders by 40 yards, saved by a Desmond Ridder fumble. They allowed 500 yards to the Browns, saved by 2 defensive touchdowns. Is their defense really as good as we think it is? I mean, this is a team I've harped on their strength of schedule all season long. 26th in strength of schedule. They're 1-5 versus teams that are currently in the playoffs. Offensively, Birdie hit it on the head. Cover 3 is not where Bo is going to excel. And if you look at his attempts, he's right now 7th in the league at attempts past deep downfield. So not the intermediate, not the short game. We're talking about 20 yards plus. He's climbing the ladder too. He's 7th right now. Earlier in the season, he was towards the bottom of the chart. So he's definitely increasing that as part of his repertoire. And that's not going to work for us a cover 3. It's not going to work for us a cover 4 because we're starting to see mostly cover 3, but they're starting to work in cover 4. And I actually like what I've seen from this Colts defense. I feel like compared to what we've seen in the first few weeks of the season, I don't think it's necessarily where Bo's going to excel. And I know that there's not a lot to love about this Colts team. But I would expect Steichen to have his team ready. I mean, they need this W way more desperately than the Broncos do. They've proven they can win on the road. They're up against an overvalued commodity. Anthony Richardson's much better versus man coverage than he is versus zone coverage, and it's because it's much easier to read, right? It's easier to get a read pre-snap with motion that we know Steichen's going to use, and it's easier to follow post-snap. So if it wasn't for the market profile in this game, I'd be on the Colts. But Dougie hit it on the head. This is the sharp trap profile. Home teams that open between -4 and -5.5. Line moves towards them. Line moves towards the road team and closes above the 3. So as long as we're not touching 3, really, this line's moving away from the Broncos. As long as they don't touch 3. Home team 16-8 ATS. It's also 16-8 to the over. The game's non-divisional, 9-4 ATS. The home team 10-3 to the over. If the sharp action, the bigger bets are on the home team, 5-1 ATS, 5-1 to the over. The last 3 games in this sample, the Cowboys versus the Giants, Thursday on Thanksgiving, absolutely smacked them. The Bears and the Panthers, the Bears smacked the Panthers at home. And the Seahawks, Lions, which I was on the Lions very heavily for the same exact reason. All of those, that sample, won by 7 or more. But if you extend that to the last 10 games in this sample, the home team is 9-1 ATS. Not one game in this entire sample did they win by less than 7. The average margin of victory is 11 points. It was 11 points. And the only loss on this is a 28-point blowout when the Commanders smacked the Cardinals at home early in the season. So there's a lot in the market that tells me that be very careful with betting the Colts, and that's why I haven't moved on it. I love the matchup. I think it makes a lot of sense to back the Colts, but this is something that's going to keep me off. I mean, this to me, like, this has got to be Broncos or pass, and right now I want to find a way to get on the over.
What an interesting breakdown. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to move on it at this point.
Jimmy, I haven't logged the last plays because you said the Titans. I think the Titans fit this profile. So it might be another ATS cover in the last 10. But, it's still.
Yeah.
But still, the Titans, should they have covered that spread? I think they should have.
Oh, God. I mean, I just at least give me the double result. If they had kicked that field goal in the end of the first half, they win that game 12-10 at the least. At the worst, they win that game 12-10. Just kicking field goals, it could easily be 15-10. But Stacking Cream says 4s at MGM. Yeah, this is a really tough game. So you agree heavily with this move to the over 42.5 to 44.5?
Yeah. Yep. I do.
What has kept you off betting it?
I'm so confused with it because I think there's so much that align with the Colts, but historically, this is the sharp trap. This is the numbers that really don't matter. I talked about it yesterday on the stream that between 5.5 and 4. That's why I use that as my parameter in this query, is because the bookies don't treat that line with much respect.
Well, let's roll on. That was a tough one. Let's roll on to the big one. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this game. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Bills 10-3, 4-3 on the road. Detroit Lions 12-1, 6-1 at home. Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. Let's get into the line history here for this one. What a beauty! This total got up
Detroit at 3:00. Interesting.
Total 3:00 CST.
Yeah.
4:25 for us out east and in Detroit. This total opened up at 54 and it got to 55. This was juiced to the over 55 last night. Now it's juiced to the under. It's come back to 54.5. I mean, 55 is just a ludicrous number. But you can understand after what we've seen from these two teams why it's at that number, especially what we saw from the Bills last week. This is got Detroit -2. Right now at -115. Detroit was -2.5 at -114. So we've had a half-point move towards the Buffalo Bills. When we get to the cash flow, we have 67% of tickets and 71% of cash on the Bills on the spread. On the money line, it's 28% of tickets on the Bills and 43% of cash. The total is 66% of tickets, 73% cash on the over, but we just started to see it drop. Talk about the Bills passing offense, 12th in the league, 29.3 yards per game, and rushing offense, 11th, 125.7. They completely stopped running the ball. They were behind against the Rams, and they just completely stopped running the ball against them. Red zone offense, 5th in the league, 68.5%. Third down offense, 9th in the league at 43.4%. It's an excellent offense. Josh Allen's doing an incredible job, and he's your favorite to win the MVP. Passing defense, 9th, 208.9 yards per game. They allow, but they certainly looked like one of the worst passing defenses in the league against the Rams on the weekend. Rush defense, 19th, 123.1 yards per game. Red zone defense, 16th. They're allowing touchdowns 54.2% of the time. Their third down defense is 25th. They're allowing conversions 43.2% of the time. Overall, it's a poor defense all of a sudden for the Bills. And the one thing that I just couldn't get over when I was watching them against the Rams was how small they are. Like I've heard people talk about it, but when I was like, God, where? I've seen baseball teams bigger than the Bills. The Bills come off a wild 44-42 loss to the Rams. They lost despite gaining 8.2 yards per play. I'd like to see how many teams have lost football games gaining 8.2 yards per play. They became the first NFL team to score 6 touchdowns without a turnover and lose. First team ever. Buffalo's 42 points were the most scored in a defeat in franchise history. Josh Allen was 22 of 37 for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 10 times for 82 yards, 3 touchdowns. The first player in NFL history with 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the game. Khalil Shakir caught 5 for 106 in a touchdown. Amari Cooper caught 6 for 95. They were perfect 3 for 3 in the red zone, but the defense looked awful. Couldn't get the Rams off the field. The Rams were 12 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down. The Rams dominated time of possession because they went 12 of 16. 38-30 to 21-30. They allowed the Rams to go 5 of 6 in the red zone. The Rams and Bills combined for 902 yards of offense without a turnover or a sack. I mean, it's just nuts. Rasul Douglas injured his back and knee in the second half. He's not practicing this week. If he's unable to go, to be Jamarcus Ingram that will replace him. You'd want Rasul Douglas in there. Also, defensive end Casey Toole hurt his ribs. This defensive group needs they work by committee. If he's out, then Javon Solomon will get more snaps. Dalton Kincaid's been out with a knee injury since week 10. He's not been placed on the IR, but doesn't look like he's coming back. And then you have Keon Coleman has been out with a wrist injury since week 9. He also hasn't been placed on the IR. but he hopes to return this weekend. We'll see. Talk about the Detroit Lions. Passing offense, 4th in the league, 243.8 yards per game. Rushing offense, 4th in the league, 151.1 yards per game. Red zone offense, 6th in the league. They score touchdowns 67.3% of the time, and their third down offense, 4th at 45.8%. It's a phenomenal offense with the best running back tandem that I've seen in a long, long, long time. Passing defense, 23rd. They allow 224.7 yards per game, but that's because they're ahead all the time, and teams are throwing heavy against them in the second half, which is why they only allowed 93.9 yards per game on the ground. Red zone defense, 4th in the league. They only allowed touchdowns 47.2% of the time. Their third down defense, 1st. They only allow conversions 31.3% of the time. But you know when you watch Dan Campbell coaching that he's very concerned about his defense. And he wants his offense to go win the game for them because he doesn't trust the defense to do the job with all the injuries that they've, accumulated. I mean, it's unbelievable what they've done. They're coming off sweeping their 3 games in 12 days. That gives them a little extra rest before this heavyweight matchup. They're coming off their 11th straight victory. Last seen Thursday night in Detroit's 34-31 victory at home over the Packers. They outgained the Packers 391 to 298. Held on to the ball for 36 minutes and 6 seconds. I mean, that's the recipe for victory. Goff, 32 of 41 for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And this, all these firsts. Do you know that no team in NFL history has ever had a football game where they had 6 receivers with 5 receptions? The Detroit Lions were the first team to do that in NFL history. Jamison Williams led receivers with 5 catches for 80 yards. Sammy Laporte had 5 for 54. And the best running back tandem in the league kept on rolling. Montgomery, 14 carries for 51 yards, touchdown, caught 5 for 33. Jahmyr Gibbs had 15 carries for 43 yards, caught 5 for 33. 11 for 20 on 3rd or 4th down, 4 or 5 in the red zone. The defense allowed the Packers to put up 6.6 yards per play. And this is what scared me. So I know that, there are sharps here in the chat, Birdie on the lines. The Packers only faced 5 third downs, but they got 17 first downs. They didn't need to get the third down against this Lions defense. That scares me. That's the reason why I'm not on the Lions right now. It was just that stat just jumped out at me. They allowed the Packers to go 4 or 5 in the red zone. Pass rush missing so many starters, but held to just 1 sack, but they still got 7 hits on Jordan Love. Taylor Decker still out with the shoulder injury. DJ Reader out with the shoulder injury. Josh Pascal out with the knee injury. And Levi Onwuzurike with the hamstring injury. They're all inactive. They're all listed as questionable this week. Take it away for us here, Troy. The big one. Bills-Lions.
I love this game. This is going to be the best game of the week by far. There are 4 teams right now, in my opinion, that are top tier based on what we've seen, based on the current resumes. It's the Eagles, it's the Ravens, it's the Lions, and it's the Bills. And I'm sorry, I don't believe the Chiefs fit this profile right now. Neither team has beaten any of these opponents. The Lions haven't played any of them. The Bills are 0-1. They lost by 25 to the Ravens. So I feel like this is one of those matchups like the Ravens-Eagles where we're going to learn a ton. But this time, unlike the last, I'm ready to make a move. And in my opinion, the Bills have way more holes. We want to talk about defense, being concerned with defense. How about the Bills defense? Bernie said a few things in the chat I agree with. I talked about it earlier. Not one of their front 4 have a PFF grade above 60. 64 is the top. So it's their best lineman is a run defense grade of 64. 57, 51, 43, all of them that's bottom 20% in the NFL. They're going to be pushed around by this Lions front that's getting healthier. They're linebackers. Not one of them weigh more than 230 pounds. If they're listed at 230, they're probably 220, especially at this position. They're corners. There's baseball teams bigger than these guys, like you said. They're small. They're finesse. They're not built for trench warfare. That's what it's about to be, trench warfare. At defensive back, only one corner has been proven to be competent at all against the pass, and that is Benford. Everyone else, just like the defensive line, they're in the 50s. And Teron Johnson, although he's not a great coverage corner, he can be schemed off the field very easily with personnel. The defense, the overall defensive grade for this Bills team is 24th per PFF. I won't talk about the offense I don't want to talk bad or talk down about this offense. You've heard my concerns with this Bills defense from week 1. I really believe that this Bills offense is elite. I think Josh Allen right now is the MVP. But that defense, man, there's a lot to be concerned about. And on the other side, you've got the Lions, excuse me, at home, coming off extended rest. At home, they're 9-2 ATS and straight up as home favorites of a touchdown or less over the last 3 years. Undefeated as a favorite less than 3. With the opportunity to knock off a top team in the AFC, with the ability to turn around and hand the ball off and find easy offensive success, which is the most dominant form of football. This will be one of the best defenses the Bills have seen all season long. It really will be. The Lions, first on third down, fourth in the red zone. I know there's a lot of injuries to be concerned about. The Bills in those situations, third down, fourth down, red zone, 25th and 16th. The Lions have the personnel to put a spy on Josh Allen. I feel like there's a lot more to like about the Lions side of the matchup than there is about the Bills side of the matchup. I came into this game thinking I wouldn't be betting it. I really did. If anything, I'd be betting the under. But as I started to dig through the matchup, I started to like the Lions. And when I got into the market, I started to love the Lions. So here's some things. First of all, for the under, I found this because right away I wanted to attack the under. So what did I find? You got two teams that are top 10 in PFF grade, overall PFF grade, with a spread less than 3 points, 13-3 to the under. The average point scored is 42. That includes totals in the 50s, 52, 51. If after week 10, 8-0 to the under, so the later in the season, the more competitive these games become. If the market moves to the over in that sample, still 6-1 to the under. I mean, totals greater than 50, 34-15 to the under. If the market moves to the over in that sample, 18-8 to the under. So there's a lot of reasons to like it. Now, there's a lot of data profiles for the side that would suggest 50-50 situation. But I did find this: home favorites between 1 and 3 that are top 5 in overall PFF grade, 9-3 ATS. Undefeated ATS if the public's on the road team, and the line movement in this sample is 2-8 ATS, meaning it's not accurate. The road team did cover 2 of the last 3 in that sample: week 13 Eagles Ravens and week 4 Cowboys Steelers, where the Cowboys and the Eagles both won those situations. By the way, that sample where I'm talking about the 9-3 ATS for the Lions is also 9-3 to the under. And I talked about why I like the PFF grades. It's a lot different than looking at PFF grades because we're looking at aggregate scoring at the individual level rolled up into a total. I think there's a lot of equity to be considered there. Now, it doesn't account for strength of schedule. It doesn't account for, maybe it does because of bias, because these are manual inputs. But when you see, the best defensive lineman going up against the worst offensive lineman, I'm sure there's going to be some adjustments in your ratings. So I think there is some DVOA built into that individual ranking. I'm on the Lions. I sent it to you, Jim. I'm on the money line -125, and I got a pretty big position on it. This team has been great to me on the money line. I don't see any reason to stop backing them, especially at home.
I want to bet the under badly. Should we like? I mean, I think that that it hit the high water mark. Now, at 2:30 on Sunday, this will come skyrocketing up again.
What is the
54.5 right now? You could pay a little bit for the 55. I don't think that's important. I think you just need to get over the 54.5.
Over the last 3 years, 54 is the most likely number in the 50 range. 2.63% of games land on 54.
I want. Birdie says this has to get over 55.5. It will, right? I mean, like, as much as I want to bet it now, if we can just hold off until 3 p.m. on Sunday, we're going to get that 55.5.
Are we going to get a 57?
No.
Then it's probably just bet it now. I mean, 55.5, you're 1.2%, 0.73%. You're covering both of those, I guess. I mean, you get yourself a little bit more equity.
Jim W. Putt says Detroit scores at least 34 in this game. I mean, and Birdie says take every point you can. I wanted the under as soon as this total came out.
Why risk the 50? But you don't want to take every point you can, but you don't want to risk the 54.
Yeah. You don't want to risk it dropping to 54.
Yeah, right.
And it's clear that I thought that this was it when I saw it dropping from that 55, I was like, oh, it's hit the high water mark until Sunday. If it gets up there again, it'll get up there again from the public hammering it. So Rand says Bills play zero defense. Look, if I was backing a team to hope for a very intense defensive performance from a team that's 25th in third down defense and 16th in red zone defense and 19th in rush defense. Not a very good defense. I'd want them to be coming off allowing 44 points. I don't want them to come off of a great performance because I know they're not a great defense. I want them to have gotten slapped in the face and have to come back to the facility and go, what the hell did we do wrong? How can we not let this happen again to the Lions? So I want that. I want it to. I'm pleased. The question is with all of these Detroit Lion reinforcements, you're saying that the Lions are going to get stops, and so who are we sure that's coming back? Let's talk about that right now, because the only one I am sure of is DJ Reader coming back.
That's the only one I know too, but I believe McNeil plays. But it just really based on what I've seen this past game on the field.
DJ Reader will help a lot. Wow. Okay. And North Ender says, don't need defense this game, just need some red zone stops. That's another thing that I was thinking of too, North Ender, because some of these drives are going to be long. Some of these drives are going to be 6 minutes long, 7 minutes long. I think I'm going to move on the under just to have it in my pocket over 54. And Fireside saying same deal.
Well, then you know what, man? I can't let you jump through the window by yourself then, Jim.
Well, I'm happy that you're joining me. So I'm going to bet this as soon as the show's over. Under 54.5 available right now. Troy has a big spot on the Lions money line. Is this something that you'll be adding to with the Lions as a parlay piece?
I probably will add with the spread. If we get down to 1.5, if I can get below the 2. But I probably would be off if we started flipping to a dog.
Okay, I feel you. What a game. I can't wait to watch this football game. My goodness, that's going to be magic. All right, Troy on the Lions and the under. Are you going to get 54.5?
I just bet 54.5. I put a half a unit on it right now, but we can go. I definitely would willing to make it official.
And then you'll decide. I think that makes sense. I don't know if it might make sense to put 2/3 of a unit on it so that if it does sky up again, I can do it, hit it again.
Yeah.
And Big Show says I would have liked it more if Buffalo dominated last week. Oh, I hear you. I hear that's absolutely right, Big Show. That makes a ton of sense. And I like the under because of how bad the Bills looked defensively last week. I mean, they're going to be questioning everything and working on everything and only focusing on their defense. What a fun breakdown. Let's move on. Next up, we have another 4:25 game and another big one. Pittsburgh Steelers 10-3, 5-2 on the road at Philadelphia Eagles 11-2, 5-1 at home. Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 49 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this one. You know, it's amazing that you could be rolling like the Eagles are rolling and have all these issues. It's a funny thing, team play and team sports. But the Eagles are striving to be a great football team, and they know that they have flaws, and it's all offensively, and it's all through the passing game. But I still don't like A.J. Brown, whining to the media about it. This line opened up -4.5, -109. There's been a 1 cent move to the Eagles. We've been told that things happen in friendships and that A.J. Brown and Jalen were very, very close at one time, and they are not anymore. Now, how much do we take into that? Like, it's all hearsay, but that's what we've been told at this point. This total's at 42, opened up at 44. Big drop, 2-point drop to the under. When we get to the cash flow, we have 80% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The line's not moving. We have 80% of the tickets and 78% of cash on the over. The line's moving towards the under. Let's roll. Dougie Wise on Eagles -5. Donut Silks in the house says, can't wait for this one. Tayway says, Eagles smash. No Pickens. Let's roll. Let's start with the Steelers. Passing offense, 23rd in the league, 206 yards a game. Rushing offense, 9th at 132.1 yards per game. Their rushing game with Najee Reed and Jalen Warren has really blown my mind. I did not expect it to be this good. I did not expect it to be a poor man's Monty and Gibbs. Red zone offense being a problem all year. 29th in the league, 45.7%. Jim W. puts us in Tomlin 67% against spread as a dog. And Ron Crawford has the Steelers as a spreadsheet play here. Slatsy says Steelers have not won in Philly since 1965, 0-10, and Pickens unlikely to play. Third down offense for the Steelers, 12th at 39.4%. Passing defense, 17th, 218.6 yards per game. Their rush defense, 4th. They only allow 91.5 yards per game. Red zone defense has been good, 13th at 53.7%. Their third down defense, second in the league. They only allow conversions 32.5% of the time. Steelers coming off a 27-14 victory at home over the Browns. Offense struggled, just 267 total yards, 4.3 yards per play. It was disappointing. Russell Wilson was just 15-26 for 150. Well, disappointing. I cashed the under, and I was very thankful. What am I saying? Russell Wilson was 15-26 for 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The under in that Steelers-Browns game reminds me of why I'm going to cash the under in the Rams-Niners game. The Steelers and Browns were both coming off, huge offensive output, but look, it's a division game outdoors, and there's so much on the line. So I find a lot of similarities to the Thursday nighter, but we'll have to see how that bangs out. We have Wilson, 15-26 for 150 yards. Pickens missing his first career game. Freiermuth led receivers with 3 catches for 48 yards. Tomlin confirmed that Pickens will not be available. He said that today. Out for a second straight game. Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Mike Williams, Scotty Miller, and Ben Skoranek. It's a weak group. Najee Harris had 16 carries for 53 yards. Jalen Warren, 9 carries for 47 yards, caught 2 for 25. Just 6 of 14 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. Defense held the Browns to 2 of 13 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. James Pierre and Keanu Benton had interceptions. And Larry Ogunjobi left in the first half and did not return. He's listed as questionable this week. So, it's Isaiah Loudermilk who's going to be the main guy at defensive end. If you look at the Steelers, all the sacks come from the linebackers, all of them. I don't believe, and I'd have to double check, but I don't think there's a defensive end with more than 1 sack. It's all coming, from Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig. Let's move on to the Eagles. Passing offense now, second last in yards per game, 180.6, but their rushing offense is first at 190.5. Their red zone offense, 9th at 59.2% touchdown rate. Their third down offense, 8th, 43.4%. Their passing defense, second. They allow 178.5 yards per game through the air. And rush defense, 8th at 105.8. Red zone defense, 6th, 48.7%. And their third down defense is extremely good. They only allow conversions 34.4% of the time. It's top 5 in the league. Eagles coming off an underwhelming 22-16 victory over the Panthers. That's how I want to bet teams. I want them after an underwhelming performance. I don't want them after they smash and grab. I don't want the Rams after they beat the Bills. Jalen Hurts was just 14-21 for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. 108 yards. A.J. Brown visibly upset during the game. Upset afterwards. 4 catches, 43 yards. When asked after the game, what do the Eagles need to improve on? He said passing. That's it. It's just like when Hito Turkoglu said ball and stared at, now that was up here in Toronto, but just one word answer. Devonta Smith returned from an injury, caught 4 passes for 37 yards and touchdown. Saquon Barkley rushed for 124 yards to break the Eagles franchise record. Shady McCoy's Eagle record of 1,607 yards set in 2013 snapped with 4 games left. Eagles were perfect 3 of 3 in the red zone. The defense held the Panthers to 7 of 16 on third down, but allowed them to go perfect 2 for 2 in the red zone. Pass rush only had 1 sack, but still had 8 quarterback hits. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had an interception. So Reed Blankenship is expected to come back. He's out with a concussion. He's expected to be back. Tristan McCollum was the top safety in the game against Panthers. Sidney Brown, the sideline for Week 14. Now, is he going to be back too? It's a big deal to have those 2 back in the secondary. Take it away for us here, Troy. Steelers, Eagles.
This is a game I've been waffling all day. Probably spent way too much time with this game. I'll try to keep it quick or keep it summarized at least. Steelers winning 7 of their last 8 games. Is this truly a Super Bowl caliber team? I know some cappers in the chat do think that to be the case. I could see you could definitely make a case for it, but 4 consecutive games against divisional opponents. They went 3-1. But this team, over the course of the entire season, has the 3rd easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. The problem with the current stretch, what good defenses have they played? The Browns, I guess you could consider a good defense. The Ravens are a good run D. Versus the Browns, they went 1-1. They did beat the Ravens, but they were kind of lucky to do so as the Ravens averaged 6.5 yards per carry and more yards per play, more first down, better on first down, all that. But this is going to be the best pass defense the Steelers have seen all season. It's not even close. The Commanders, just looking at what the Steelers did against the Commanders, like some of these corollary matchups makes me even more bullish on the Eagles. I think so. This is going to be definitely the best coverage unit that they've seen all season long. And this is going to be the best rushing attack, or one of the best rushing attacks. I mean, we know the Ravens average 6.5 yards per carry. And we know the public, this is probably my favorite part of this entire game. We know the public just lost with the Eagles last week, ATS. We've seen them struggle to beat the Panthers. I think that creates an interesting dynamic. Now the public is aping in on the Steelers. How long is the narrative going to last? Like, it has to regress eventually. Tomlin as a road dog. Don't you think this is a number where the bookies are opening their arms? They're like, please take the Steelers. Like, this is where, in my opinion, they're taking a position against the public, against the even pros are just backing the Steelers blindly as road dogs. I mean, it reminds me of when I used to play, or watching what happened with this Eagles-Panthers game. It reminds me of when I used to play basketball in high school, when we were the best team in the country. Top 25 in the country, best team in the state. We played against St. Lawrence, which is our rival in the Catholic League in Chicago. We were the best team in the state. This was a below average team full of white boys. They were a bad team. We only won that game by 3. The next game we came out against Simeon, which is also a top 5 team in the state. They had Jabari Parker that year. We smoked them by 20 points. I mean, it was a blowout from square one. We were highly intense, highly motivated. I think the Eagles are sitting there like they're coming off a loss. So I feel like there's a lot of reasons to back the Eagles here. And the last one being home teams that open between 4 and 5, they're 33 and 16 ATS. If they also close between 4 and 5, they're 13 and 1 ATS. And if the home team is top 10 overall per PFF, they're 5-0 ATS, winning by 10 points on average, covering 7 points or more in every single one of them. So I don't know exactly how I want to play this. It's hard to bet against the Steelers, bet against Tomlin. But I'm not going to be betting the Steelers. And now Birdie was in my head today as I'm capping this game. Like, some things just don't make sense, I guess. You know, some trends, some things just don't completely make sense. This trend has to regress. It just has to. It's just hard to fathom what's happening here with the Steelers covering spreads.
Well, I know what I'm doing after the breakdown. Eagles double result for me. Eagles double result.
Are we? I'm going to be playing a lot of double results this week.
Yeah, same here. And I was looking. I went over my record. I was playing them in CFL, and that was late in the season. So I played very, very few this year. But this is a perfect spot for me. Eagles are an angry group. I think they come out and play well. If the Steelers continue this magical run of covering, well, they can cover all they want. But they're not going to win the football.
You're getting a double result. You're getting it what, like minus 115?
Yeah, exactly, minus 115. So
let's go. I'm with it.
All right. Eagles double result. And you know what? I might, because there's 2 options here. The option would be, one, to also take the -5, or the option is, if you lose the first half of the double result, then to bet the Eagles live right then and there.
That's usually how I play them. That's usually how I play them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
all right. Jim W. Puck giving his final score of 26-13. And Brady says Eagles struggle so badly in the first quarter. Yes, they do. They do. But they're coming off of almost losing to the Panthers. So I just, but they've been horrible in first quarters. That, Nasty Nate's been backing them second quarter throughout the year. I get it. But I'm still going to take the double result here. This is an Eagles team that's upset about the passing game, that almost lost to the Panthers. They know the Steelers are coming to town, so I'm going to go against that. But that is a very important point. All right, Troy and I both on Eagles double result. I'm going to leave that total alone. And Birdie's saying Pitt really strong in the second quarter as well. Let's roll on. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, with the New England Patriots 3-10, 2-5 on the road. The Arizona Cardinals 6-7, 4-3 at home. State Farm Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. I've got, and so does Preston. We both have the Patriots under 4.5 wins at plus money. I think it's like plus 120 or something like that. It's an important bet, and I Truth teller saying Eagles are the Cowboys, but of the top 10 teams overrated. So then how bad are the Ravens, truth teller? The Ravens must be a bottom 10 team in the league. The Patriots, Cardinals, State Farm Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. So I expect to cash the under 4.5 wins at plus money. In saying that, I think the Patriots are a pretty good 3-10 team. And I've watched you cash with them. And now they're coming off of a bye. Let's break this one down. Let's get into the line history here against the Cardinals. Cardinals are an angry group, still have playoff aspirations. This total's at 45.5 at a pick'em. Opened up at 44, got up to 46.5, and it was a legit 46.5. And then we have a point of buyback. We still have a 1.5 move towards the over here. On the point spread, we have a 5 or 5.5, depending on where you shop. This opened up at 6, so it's dropped down to 5, which, as we know, is a very interesting angle for Troy. Let's get to the cash flow here for this one. We have Truth Teller saying he bet the Cards to make the playoffs at plus 600. Jared TG says, is a double result bet always a better number than just parlaying a team to win the first half and the second half? Generally,
I've done some studies on that. Yes, it is. Even if you take first half money line, full game money line. So first half 3-way money line, full game money line, it is better because the full game money line and some of the double results do not include overtime. So you have to consider that. Like it's tough. I would look at Bet US to bet double results or Bovada.
Let's roll through the cash flow here on this one. We have, sorry, I moved back here. My apologies. Okay, we have, my bad, it's flipping around. Okay, here we go. We have 59% of the tickets and 30% of the cash on the Patriots, but this line's moving towards them. Then we have 27% of the tickets and 60% of cash on the under. Brady says Patriots as far back as Belichick struggled versus mobile quarterbacks. I really like the Cardinals here. They will not be more motivated to win more than this game this season is. The season's on the line. I really like the Cards here. And Jim W. Putt says the Pats are the best 3-10 team in NFL history. They're much better than their record indicates. I even thought about that too, Jim, over the afternoon. Who would they compare to at 3-10? Let's talk about the Patriots here. Their passing game, 32nd league, 171.5 yards a game. But, Drake May coming off of his best statistical performance of the season. He threw for 238 yards. He was 24 of 30. He also had a 41-yard run. Right now, Drake May's averaging 9.1 yards per carry. That's the best in the league among quarterbacks who've played at least 9 games. Their rushing offense 13th at 119.5, but you can't always trust Ramondre Stevenson. He's on and then he's off. Red zone offense 30th at 44.7%. Third down offense 25th at 35.4%. Their defense, as I've said over and over again, much worse than I had expected them to be. Passing defense 14th, 215.5 yards per game allowed through the air. Rushing defense 20th. They allow 124.7 yards on the ground. Their red zone defense 21st. They allow touchdowns 60.9% of the time. And their third down defense 19th. They allow conversions 40.1% of the time. Patriots coming off their bye week. Last seen that 25-24 home loss to the Colts in week 13. And the offense has looked better lately, but they're just 2-6 with Drake May as a starter. It's not like he's changed everything, but he's getting better. We watch him getting better. Against the Colts, they had a very balanced offense. 222 passing yards, season high 200 yards rushing. Alex Van Pelt seems to be getting more confident with his plays, and Drake May seems more confident executing them. They were just 2 of 6 in the red zone versus the Colts. They're 30th in the league in the red zone. It's such a problem. 44.7%. 17 out of 38. It's just not good enough. They played 7 one-score games. They've gone 2-5 in them. Thank God. And Hunter Henry is rolling right now. 7 catches for 75 yards in his last game. 7th game this season with 5 or more receptions. Leads the team with 58 catches for 610 yards. And he's the most dependable option for Drake May. Let's talk about these Cardinals. It cost me a lot of money. Everything I did cost me money last week. Passing offense, 22nd, 28.2 yards per game. Rushing offense, 6th. James Conner is just to be trusted, 139.8 yards per game. Red zone offense, 24th. They only score touchdowns 51.2% of the time. And, I blame Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson. They're just not playing well enough. They just aren't. And Trey McBride has to be the superstar on this team. And it's a problem in the red zone. Kyler Murray's a phenomenal red zone quarterback, but they're 24th at 51.2%. Third down offense, 11th at 40.4%. Passing defense, 18th. They allow 218.7 yards per game. Rush defense, 18th. They allow 121.8 yards per game. The red zone defense has been excellent all season long, 5th in the league at 47.8%. But their third down defense is atrocious, 3rd worst in the league, allowing conversions 46.3% of the time. Coming off a 30-18 loss at home to the Seahawks, completed the season sweep of Arizona. We had Birdie on the Seahawks. We had the truth teller, hammering the Seahawks. Very, very impressive capping from both of you gentlemen. Cardinals have lost 3 straight and are fading from the playoff picture. Kyler Murray, 25 of 38 for 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. The first time in Kyler Murray's 6-year career that he's had at least 2 interceptions in consecutive games. Trey McBride caught 7 for 70. James Conner ran 18 times for 90 yards, caught 4 for 32, but the offense 4-12 on third down, 1-3 in the red zone, and the defense looked weak. Seahawks put up 409 total yards, 6.7 per play. They did hold them 2 of 5 in the red zone. As I said, they've been great at that spot all year defensively. The pass rush was awful, 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and Blake Gillikin, their punter, gets hurt. Ryland had to take over as the punter. He's questionable this week. We'll have to see if Blake Gillikin plays, but you don't want that. You don't want to not have your punter. Maybe they sign a punter. We'll have to keep an eye on all that. Take it away for us, Troy. Patriots, Cards, State Farm Stadium.
This is a really tough game for me. This is a really tough game. I might have action down when it's all said and done come Sunday. But I've dished off about 7 units betting this Cardinals team the last 3 weeks because the 2 times I bet on them against the Seahawks, I did get some of it back. It would be worse because I got some of it back against the Vikings, but I feel like I kind of learned my lesson with this team, watching them very closely. It's a Jekyll and Hyde type of team. You never know what you're going to get. Kyler Murray, he's on, he's off. He turns into a pumpkin against pressure, against good coverage. He makes terrible decisions. The 2 picks he threw were unacceptable from a quarterback, especially a caliber of quarterback we thought that Kyler Murray might be after watching some of this season. And usually I would look at this game now and say the Cardinals still have hope. Where's the hope with the Patriots? I really don't know if the Patriots give a fuck about hope, give a fuck about playoffs. They're playing to build something different, something that's more it's unquantifiable, to build continuity, to develop their rookie quarterback as fast as possible. They're definitely playing to win football games still at this point. Now, there's a ton of issues with them. But the issue in general is that this is right up the Cardinals' alley. Cardinals make bad teams look like bums as home favorites. The Patriots haven't proven that they have much success on the road versus quality opponents. This is not a game at face value that I'm really interested in betting. Then you look at the market. We opened at 6. We're sitting at 5. Usually I would already be on it at this point. But this reminds me of a few lines that I bet early in the week that get back to 6, and I regret it. And I really don't know what to expect from these 2 teams. You got the Patriots coming off a bye. I still think they're going to play very hard. The Cardinals, I don't know where they're at. It's really hard. It's really hard to judge. So right now I'm off of this game until I get further information.
So talk about the market going through the 6 down to the 5. Is this because there's differences within this? This is a road team from the 6 to the 5.
20-9 ATS in favor of the Patriots right now, about 50-50 on the money line for the road team. Now, there is some situations within this market, like what do we got with this total? We got a total that's moving so far. It's moved a half point, but that's come back too. Total moving towards the over is very favorable for the dog in this case. But now that's coming back. There's a few things that are telling me Cardinals might come back and close at 6.
And let's go back to the cash flow game, because immediately you look at this number and find the Patriots attractive immediately. And then the market's moving towards the Patriots. We can't hem and haw on these games for too long because there's 60 on the card. So we're going to move on. But I would like you to answer to this comment from Birdie. He says, my rolling 3 weeks is Cards minus 6.82. He says, this seems like a sharp trap. And he says, just kidding. But sharps are on Cards 100% full disclosure. But he's not heard anyone that he follows on the Cardinals. Obviously, the books are actively trying to beat us. They're not looking for 50-50 action. And, obviously this line was put out to make the Patriots look appealing against a team that's lost 3 straight and just lost by 12 at home. That makes me want to bet the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
agree.
then,
It reminds me
you-
a little bit of the Eagles line, but then again, we opened at the 6, and it just makes it so difficult.
So would you say to wait to see if this closes at 6 or 4.5, and that would be the decision that would then be made?
Yeah, because I think the 5.5 number here is pretty irrelevant. Like if it gets, I know we're down to 5, but we've started to tick back already. The total's starting to tick back. You know, you want to see this moving towards the over. So it's a difficult spot right now to judge this early in the week. I need more market clarity.
You know, North End, I don't think. I think he's saying that the sharps that he follows, North End, I think he's saying that the sharps that he follows are all on the cards.
And how about this? I mean, with this line drop, and I've seen it before, are they baiting the line? Are they trying to bait the line with some early action, trying to get this below the key number of 6 so they can buy it back up come game time? Is it that type of trap? Is it the sharps trapping the bookies?
Well, the immediate number at 6, immediately don't think, that's a pretty nice number for the Patriots off a bye against the team that's lost 3 straight. And that's why when I had my first really strong season MLB 3 years ago, it was because that first thing that I thought, when I'd look at all the games, I go, look at it. I would just put a line through it because everybody else thinking the exact same way. And in NHL, in totals, when I would beat a line movement by 50 or 60 cents, I had a negative ROI because all that's happening is I'm seeing the same thing that everybody else just before them because I do this full time. There's nothing sharp about what I'm doing, and beating that line by 50 or 60 cents doesn't mean a goddamn thing because my ROI is negative because it's a public play I'm just seeing before the public. So all of this makes me want to bet the Cardinals. Now, I'm not going to do anything yet. Also, this total, we also have this vividness bias of the Patriots being good defensively when they are not. We have a Cardinals team that is also, very average defensive. We have what about moving on the over in this one? The Patriots have nothing to play for. It's not, they're going to keep, trying, going for big plays, working out Drake May. This total's gone up. Now it's dropped, but it's still gone up 1.5 points from the opener. Why wouldn't we see points here?
I mean, they haven't scored 20 points on the road all season long, even with Drake May behind at quarterback.
Now, with Van Pelt getting the extra week here to prepare an offense that's starting to play a little better, and we're playing indoors. Now, we've seen the Lions and Cardinals play to 43 points in Arizona, so it's not like – okay, I get it. Okay. Fascinating game. Cards interest me, but I'm waiting. Okay, let's roll on. All right, and Circa still is hanging the 6, so lots of work to do on this game still. We move on to our final 4:25 p.m. game before we get into Sunday night and the 2 Monday nighters. We're moving pretty well time-wise here, so let's roll. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-6, 4-2 on the road to LA Chargers, 8-5, 4-2 at home at SoFi in Inglewood, California. I have the over 7.5 wins. Max bet on the Buccaneers. Just need one. Passing offense, 6th in the league, 241 yards per game. Rushing offense, 8th at 138.3 yards per game. Red zone offense, 4th at 68.6% touchdown rate. Their third down offense, 2nd, converting 47.2% time. Who would have ever imagined that their number? I mean, this is better than any year that Brady was at quarterback for the Buccaneers. I mean, that's just shocking that this offense is doing it. Let's get into the line history here for the Buccaneers. This is a tough team they're going up against. This spread is at 46 minus 111. My dad has said this comment to me often in my life. Oh, God. I'll pull this up here in a second. Sorry, my computer just froze. I'll go into the comment here in a second, unless it'll pop up right here. So this is it. He said this to me so often in my life. He also says it after he loses bets. It's a comment. here. Let me pull it up, and then we'll get into the action. So this is what he said to me. It's from Sir Andrew Barton. It is, fight on, my men. I'm a little wounded, but not slain. I'll lay down and bleed a while. Then we'll rise and fight again. And he says that to me, through my life. He said it to me in sports. He said it to me after he loses a bet. He said it to me after he lost the bet fading the Canucks. No, the one before that, fading the Canucks. He sent that to me again. And that's what Jim Harbaugh said to the Chargers after the game. Word for word, he quoted Sir Andrew Barton. There's something really special happening with the Chargers. And they are moving in the right direction. The way they came back in the second half without Ladd McConkey was unbelievably spectacular. And I apologize for getting away from that with that quote. This total is at 46. It's minus 111 to the under. There's been an 8-cent move towards the under. The point spread here, and so it's on tape. My dad sent me the tape of Harbaugh saying it to the squad, and he was like beaming, Then on the spread, the Chargers are -3 at plus 102. The Chargers opened up at -3 at minus 106. So there's been an 8-cent move to the Buccaneers at this number. When we get to the cash flow here, we have, sorry about that. I wasn't planning on dropping the comment. I apologize if it kind of got us off the handle there. 28% of the tickets, 51% of the cash on the Chargers, yet this line's moving towards the Buccaneers. 72% of tickets and 60% of cash on the over. The Buccaneers come off their third straight victory. 28-13 at home over the Raiders. They outgained them 420 to 286. Their defense is still an issue. Pass defense 30th, allowing 253.4 yards per game. Rush defense 11th at 115.2. Red zone defense 10th. They allow touchdowns 51% of the time. It's been pretty good. And remember, last year and 2 years ago, they had the best red zone defense in the league. Third down defense 23rd at 41.9%. Brady says, I'm worried McConkey does not play again. Bucks offensive resurgence versus Giants, Panthers, Raiders. His Chargers D is a big step up in class. My model says Bucks, but if McConkey plays, I am betting the Chargers. Winfield is out. That's a big deal. Not only is Winfield out, Antoine Winfield looks like he's going to be out for a long time, an extended absence. They said the initial diagnosis was unclear, so they still don't know how long he's out for, but they know he's going to be out for a while. That's a big loss.
So he's out, you're saying, Jim?
Antoine Winfield.
Oh, and okay. McConkey.
Yeah. Oh, McConkey, we have to wait and see right now.
What is your gut telling you?
My gut tells me that he plays.
Yeah,
but that's just because he's a dog. He's a junkyard dog. He wants to play so bad, and he knows that Harbaugh loves it. I mean, remember when Justin Herbert shouldn't have played when he had the high ankle sprain, but he played against the Chiefs because Harbaugh. Did you hear the quote Harbaugh told his men? I mean, even if you don't care about English literature, I mean, you're just like, I'll lay down and bleed a while, and then we will rise and fight again. God, I love what he's doing over there. Rashad White ran 17 times for 90 yards and a touchdown. He caught 2 passes for 19 yards. The importance of that is that Bucky Irving dealing with a back injury. We know that Winfield will be out for several weeks. We don't know about Bucky Irving at this point, but he's a problem. The issue is a problem with his back. The offense put up 7.1 yards per play, went 3 of 3 in the red zone. The defense held the Raiders to 4.5 yards per play, held them to 4 of 13 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. But the Bucs are dealing with a ton of injuries. So KJ Britt, their linebacker with the ankle injury, he's listed as questionable here. As I said, safety Mike Edwards dealing with a hamstring injury. He didn't play. They said that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka should be able to play this week, but he's still dealing with the ankle injury. A cornerback Josh Hayes dealing with a hamstring injury. So we need to know from tomorrow's report. Then let's move on to the Chargers. Passing offense 25th to 198.1 yards per game. Rushing offense 19th, 111.5. Red zone offense 19th at 54.6. And third down offense 15th at 38.4%. It doesn't surprise me that Birdie's numbers are telling him that the Buccaneers are the play, because this line's moving towards the Buccaneers when it doesn't make sense to me. So there's obviously got to be advanced models, despite McConkey not playing. It's who do you trust? Who do you trust in the trenches? The Chargers have proved that they should be trusted in the trenches. Passing defense 8th, rush defense 28th, but Doesn't seem to hold them back. Their red zone defense is the best in the league, first at 41.9% of the time. And we have their third down defense 7th at 35%. They allow conversions 35% of the time. That was a tough 19-17 loss at Kansas City. They showed a ton of heart. Herbert went 21-30 for 230 yards and a touchdown. McConkey out of the lineup. Joshua Palmer caught 6 for 78. Let's get Palmer some confidence. And Stone Smart caught 3 for 54. Let's get him some confidence. Quentin Johnston caught a touchdown pass. Let's get him some confidence. J.K. Dobbins still on IR with a knee injury. Gus Edwards looked a little better, but Kamani Vidal looks like the real deal. 8 carries for 34 yards. Gus ran 10 for 36. 7 of 14 on third down. 2 of 3 on third and fourth down. 2 of 3 in the red zone. They allowed the Chiefs to go 8 of 15 on third down. But this defense only allowed 4.6 yards per play. I mean, the Chiefs are phenomenal on third down, but they held the Chiefs to 1 of 3 in the red zone. They got 3 sacks. And listen to this, 13 quarterback hits. Disley left the game with a right shoulder injury in the third quarter, and he's going to be out multiple weeks. Jalen Reagor hurt his finger in the third quarter. He's listed as questionable. So they could have no Disley and no McConkey. And that's why I guess we can't bet the Chargers right now. We need to wait until McConkey is okay to play. Take it away for us, Troy. This is such a fun game, Buccaneers-Chargers.
I agree with you. I think there's no harm in waiting to see if McConkey's in. I think that 3 is counting for him being in the game. I think if he's out of the game, we're going to see this drop, and then you could consider taking the Chargers under the 3. I mean, this is a hard game for me because my recency bias. I just had a massive bet on the Bucs this week. You know, kind of got offset by what Dallas did, but I didn't think that Las Vegas could keep up with the offensive output, and it ended up coming to fruition. And I've been looking to fade this Chargers team, but definitely not in this situation, man. The Bucs defense has proven to be vulnerable. The run defense giving up line yards and 25th in run D per PFF, a coverage unit that's carried by 2 players, Antonio Winfield and McCollum. Winfield is out. McConkey, I believe he's going to be in this week. And you got the Chargers at home, awful loss. I know the home field advantage in LAC is questionable at best, and I feel like the playoffs are on the line in this situation. There's 2 games that they have that are tough on the schedule remaining. I think if they win this one, win one of those 2, they're winning and they're in. And you look at the last 3 opponents that these teams have played, right? The Tampa Bay, or let's look at Chargers first. 4 quality teams in a row. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay, they're coming off of a W3 against absolute cupcakes. The Giants, the Panthers, and the Raiders. Baker Mayfield, in 3 of his last 4 games, his turnover-worthy play rate has skyrocketed, and he's posting failing grades. Bucky Irving's questionable. I feel like he's the lifeblood to the running game. And they're going up against a defense that stops the run. They have a quality secondary. They have a linebacker who's incredible in coverage and as a spy. This is an extremely tough situation for the Bucs to be in my opinion. Clearly a Chargers or pass situation. I know a lot of sharps are probably on the other side of this, but I think this is definitely a Chargers spot.
So we need to wait and have McConkey in, because if Disley's out and McConkey's out, do you still like him at a 1.5? 2?
No,
I don't either.
I just want McConkey in, and I'll be on the Chargers.
Yeah, I need McConkey in. I love that Palmer and Johnston got more confident. I'm just loving what we're seeing from this Chargers football team. I
agree, man. There's some qualities, and that last game is really what's getting me over the top with the Chargers. As I've been a naysayer all year, man, I'm starting to leave the door open a little bit for them.
And I had tickets to Chargers Broncos, but it got flexed, and it moved to Thursday. I won't be in LA yet. Sucks.
Terrible.
Okay, so I want Chargers, but need McConkey. What about this? I fear totals with the Buccaneers. I fear totals with them.
And the Chargers. I feel like both of them, they're very volatile as it relates to the total. Like I could see the Chargers absolutely eating the Bucs alive. And the Bucs, I mean, they're boom or bust offensively. Like, is this going to be another performance? I feel like the Chargers and Broncos defense profiles very similarly. We've seen what the Broncos defense did against the Bucs. There's a lot of unknowns, I feel like, from a total perspective.
Yeah, it feels like the Chargers do whatever is necessary in the football game. So if they go up against a team that's going to put up 35, they'll put up 35 with you. But if they go up against the Chiefs, they'll know it's just a grind, conservative grind. All right, I want the Chargers, but I want McConkey. Let's roll on. We move on to our Sunday nighter right here on Pub Sports Radio for our live stream, 8:20 p.m. Eastern, with the Green Bay Packers, 9-4, 4-2 on the road at the Seattle Seahawks, 8-5, 3-4 at home. We're at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. 45 Fahrenheit, chance of showers. Got to keep an eye on the weather, but it will be windy. Right now, it's 13 mile per hour winds at kickoff, so it's something important for us to keep an eye on. We got such a fun card this week. This is a beauty. We have Seattle right now. This opened up at +2 for Seattle. Quickly went to 2.5. The 2.5. So the Packers they opened. This is kind of confusing. So let me just explain a little more. The Packers opened up at -2 at -116. They get up to -128 before it moves to 2.5. When they get to 2.5, it's already -119. So it's actually come back 3 cents to -116. But there are threes on the board. If you want the 3, the Packers -3 is a plus money or even or very low vig. And if you want Seattle +3, it's like -118 to -120. Let's get into the total for this one. From a total perspective, we have this one at 46, actually 45.5. There's 46.5s. There's 46s. This opened up at 46.5, went up to 47. And then today at 3:04 p.m., it dropped a 1.5 down to 45.5. It is juiced to the over at 45.5, but we have a 1-point move towards the under. Let's get to the cash flow here for the Sunday nighter. God, it's going to be a fun Sunday nighter, man. We have 51% of the tickets, 64% of cash on the Green Bay Packers. 74% of tickets and 91% of cash on the over. Packers passing offense 11th in the league, 231.2 yards per game. Rushing offense 5th, 144.7 yards per game. Very balanced. Nice balance with this offense. Red zone offense 12th at 57.4%. Touchdown rate. Third down offense 19th at 37.6% conversion rate. Their passing defense is 21st. They allow 222.2 yards per game. Their rush defense 9th at 106.9. The red zone defense 23rd. They allow touchdowns 61.4% of the time. Their third down defense 13th, allowing conversions 36.1% of the time. Packers coming off extra rest after a 34-31 loss at the Lions on Thursday night. Jordan Love was just 12 of 20, but for 206 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Well, Romeo Doubs out of the lineup for the second straight week with a concussion. Christian Watson led receivers with 4 catches for 114 yards. He also lost a fumble. Doubs is still in protocol as we speak, and he's not been practicing. Josh Jacobs ran 18 times for 66 yards, 3 touchdowns. He put up 6.6 yards per play and only had 5 third downs all game, converting just 1. And again, that made me really uncomfortable with the Lions defense, is that the Packers didn't need to they were getting all they had 17 first downs. Only 1 came on third down. That made me nervous about backing the Lions here. Now the Lions are getting reinforcements. Not here, but in the game we were talking about. Let's get back to Packers. Offense did go 4-5 in the red zone, but they couldn't get the Lions off the field. Lions were 11-20 on 3rd and 4th down, went 4-5 in the red zone. The pass rush was nowhere to be found. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Keyshawn Nixon had an interception. And they lost Javon Bullard, their safety, to an ankle injury. They lost defensive end Lucas Van Ness to a thumb injury. They lost their safety, Evan Williams. He's in concussion protocol. He may be able to clear. Jair Alexander with a knee injury. Inactive. Got to keep an eye on that. Edgerrin Cooper, a linebacker with a hamstring injury. Their cornerback Corey Ballantyne with a knee injury. All listed as questionable this week. Let's roll into the Seahawks. Winners of 4 straight games, have a 1-game lead in the NFC West. Their passing offense 3rd in the league with 249 yards per game. Their rushing offense 27th at 95.4. But we don't need to keep asking why Kenneth Walker isn't delivering, because it's Zach Charbonnet's time with Walker out with the calf injury. Charbonnet was spectacular. Ran 22 times for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Caught 7 passes for 59 yards. He was amazing. The red zone offense, 20th, and third down offense, 16th for Seattle. Their offense looks much, much stronger over this winning streak. And it's not DK Metcalf. I mean, he's not even the number 1 receiver right now. It's Jackson Smith and Najigba. Passing defense, 10th in the league, allowing 212.5. Rush defense 21st, allowing 126.5. Red zone defense 11th at 52.2%. Third down defense 17th at 38%. It's been much better since the bye week and McDonald got them all together. It's been much, much better. But it's not a top 10 defense at this point. They're coming off of 38. Maybe it is now, but it hasn't been statistically throughout the year. They're coming off a 30-18 victory at Arizona. They gave them the season sweep over the Cards. Offense looks so strong. 409 yards, 6.7 yards per play. The only struggles were in the red zone. They went 2 of 5 in the red zone. They've been poor in the red zone all year. It's surprising. You think they have the perfect weapons for the red zone, but the offense looked strong. Geno Smith, 24-30 for 233 yards and a touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba caught 5 for 82 yards and a touchdown. The defense held the Cards to just 4-12 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits, and then that Ernest Jones interception. I'm just like, what? How do the Rams not want him? And then how do the Titans let him go? I mean, why is he getting passed around? You have a linebacker who can defend like a safety almost. Like he's such a great off-ball defender. Him and Kobe Bryant each had interceptions. Walker dealing with an ankle and a calf injury right now. Take it away for us, Troy. Our Sunday nighter, Packers Seahawks.
This is one of the toughest games, in my opinion, to handicap. You got a good offense in the Packers, a good defense in the Seahawks. And originally I was like, I'm going to be shocked if we close at 3 in this game. But after seeing what I've seen in this market recently, God, and you start to see all these books popping at 3, it's really hard to say it's not going to. The Packers are 0-2 against defenses grading out in the top 10 this season. Both of those games against the Lions. I feel like this is a big step-up spot in terms of the defenses they've been playing against. They also don't travel to the West Coast very well. Now, I only talk about the 2 games where Jordan Love was the quarterback. They're 1-1. They lost to the Raiders last year, and they beat the Rams without Kupp or Puka. And they should have lost that game. They just got done playing the Lions. Has any team won this season after getting beat up by the Lions? Now, I know that they're off extended rest, but looking at what the Bears just did, they just lost by 30. And you just keep going back and looking at all these teams and how they get crushed after playing the Lions. And I feel like the Packers still have an underwhelming record on the road. I mean, they're 4-1, but the 4 wins are against bottom of the barrel. And all of those games they could have lost except for the Titans. The Seattle defense, I think, has been one of the most impressive revelations over the past 3 weeks. Like McDonald's definitely getting these guys bought in. They're 4th in yards per play over the last 3 weeks, 7th in third down conversion, 2nd in the red zone, and they're 3rd in red zone scoring opportunities. Teams are struggling to even get into the red zone. You put it on film, you're seeing exactly what the numbers are saying. It's more confluence. They're giving very small windows for offenses to succeed. Now, of course, I don't like this offensive line. I don't like Geno Smith as quarterback, but it's really hard to fade him at this point. If the Seahawks weren't on a W4 right now, I'd probably be on them. If the Packers weren't off a loss, I'd probably be on them. But right now, it's Packers or nothing because the market also agrees. A bunch of trends suggesting the Packers are the right side.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear all of these cappers on the Packers. Truth teller, it's his Seahawks. So when you always put a little added respect when a guy's betting against his team, which is what Truth teller is doing here. Wow, this is wild. I did not expect this. Birdie says, as far as side to him is a coin flip. It says the game is decided by those Packers wide receivers. If they catch the ball, I think the Packers win and cover. If they don't, I believe Seahawks are very live to win. It says the Seattle defense is legit. He's looking at moving on and under here. Huh. What do you think of the total moving down now to 45.5 or 46?
I think the unders is the right play. All the market, 65% trend, 72% trend, 71% trend. But when you filter down to the most unique, specific profile, 2-0 ATS for the Packers and 2-0 to the over. So, I mean, I've gotten the Seahawks totals wrong all season long. I'm not going back to the well for a total.
So, in the small sample size, both games have gone to the over?
Yes.
Okay. I certainly won't move it on it tonight. I'll spend some more time on it. That is our Sunday nighter. God, I'm excited about that football game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to have pre-flop action. We have a doubleheader on Monday. Doubleheader here on Monday on Pub Sports Radio. Let's roll into it. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern. Chicago Bears to the Minnesota Vikings. Bears 4-9, 0-6 on the road. Vikings 11-2, 6-1 at home at US Bank Stadium, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've screwed up with both these teams this year. Let's get into the line history. We have this total at 43.5, juice to the over. So we've had there had been a 10-cent move. It's come back 3 cents. So we've had 7 cents of movement towards the over. Let's get into the point spread here. We have a 7. Minnesota -7 at +101. They opened up -6.5, so it's moved up to 7. But it's a plus money situation. It's still a half-point move, but not quite as legit. We'll get to the cash flow here. We have 58% of tickets, 44% of cash on the Bears, 92% of tickets, and 52% of cash on the over. Ziggy Balls leaning towards the Bears. Dougie Wise leaning towards the Bears. Let's talk about the Bears first here. Dougie Wise says Darnold -7. No. But God, Darnold looked good last week, man. Career high, 5 touchdown passes, went for 340 plus. We'll go over those numbers in a second. But let's start with the Bears. Passing offense, 30th league, 182.7 yards a game. Rushing offense, 23rd. It's horrific. It's so bad. DeAndre Swift is just the wrong running back for this football team. Rashawn Johnson hurt right now. It's an absolute mess. Rushing offense, 23rd, 105.8 yards per game. Red zone offense, 3rd, though, 69%. Shows the intelligence of Caleb Williams, whether or not, I don't know what this guy's going to do now as we move forward. 3rd down offense, 30th in the league. They only convert 33.9% of the time. Defense does not look nearly as good as it once did. Passing defense, 16th, allowing 218 yards per game. Rush defense, 26th, allowing 134.8 yards per game. We have red zone defense, 3rd, though, only allowing touchdowns 46% of the time, and 3rd down defense, 8th at 35.4% of the time. Says, isn't this a classic overreaction from what we just saw? 7 is a pretty big adjustment. Says, I love Caleb took responsibility. I love that Caleb took responsibility after the game, but that Vikes D is so good, and the Bears' offensive line is so bad. Moneyball giving us a final score 29-16. Jim W. Putt says Bears are done. Williams going nowhere. The interim coach does not trust the interim coach. I like there when the young coaches take over. I think that they're a little out of their league, and this is a young coach, Thomas Brown. It's just very, very difficult. I heard a few Cowboys talking about how they, love backing a team after a coach is fired, and I just, that's not in NFL. It's too complicated. That's in every other sport but the NFL. This is a chess match with violence. This isn't checkers. If it's checkers, then somebody can come in and pump them up. Just come in pumping them up. But if it's chess, you need to have such a depth of knowledge, something that I don't know if Thomas Brown has. They did not get a boost from. Now, maybe they got a boost from firing Eberflus in the room, but it certainly didn't show. 319 yards to 4. That's the first half. 319 to 4. They were outscored 24-0 and got 1 first down. Now, Caleb Williams was 17 of 23 for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran 4 times for 27 yards and lost a fumble. He's now gone 7 straight games without throwing an interception. The offensive line is just pitiful. I don't know if they don't like him or what's going on. He was sacked 7 times. He's now been sacked 56 times this year. That's the most for any Chicago quarterback since the merger. DJ Moore caught 6 for 49. Odunze caught 4 for 42. They get nothing from DeAndre Swift. He ran 14 times for 38 yards. This offense averaged 3.1 yards per play. Defensively, they couldn't get stops. 49ers went 8 of 14 on 3rd and 4th, 5 of 6 in the red zone, put up 452 yards and 7.4 yards per play. The pass rush was invisible. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits, and Jonathan Owens had an interception. He's been starting in place of Elijah Hicks. Hicks has missed 3 straight games with an ankle injury, and they're already without their star safety, Jaquan Brisker, who's done for the season with a concussion. Let's talk about the Vikings. Passing offense 8th at 238.2 yards per game. Rushing offense 17th at 113.2. It's a balanced offense. Red zone offense 11th, 57.5% touchdown rate. Their 3rd down offense 10th. They convert 40.9% of the time. They have this very strange dichotomy that, Troy's broken down the reasons why, but they allow a lot of yards defensively through the air, 29th at 250.6, but they're 2nd in the league, only allowing 87.2 on the ground. The red zone defense 15th. They allow touchdowns 54.1% of the time, and their 3rd down defense 14th. They allow conversions 36.3% of the time. Coming off a 42-21 victory at home over the Falcons. I think it's really fair for what Birdie said. Is this an overreaction from last week? Because Minnesota was outgained 496 to 433 in that 21-point victory. It's because they won the turnover battle 3-0 and outscored the Falcons 21-0 in the 4th. Darnold, 22 of 28 for 347 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, both career highs. Addison caught 8 for 133 and 3 touchdowns. Jefferson caught 7 for 132 and 2 touchdowns. What monsters. They became the first duo in Vikings history to each have 100-plus receiving yards and 2 touchdown catches in the same game. Jones ran 13 for 73 and a touchdown. Vikings were 8 of 12 on fourth down and a perfect 4 for 4 in the red zone. The defense made big plays, held the Falcons to 2 of 5 in the red zone. The pass rush had a sack and 4 quarterback hits. Medlis and Byron Murphy had interceptions. Murphy now has 6. That's the most for a Viking since Jimmy Hitchcock had 7 and 8 in 1998. But Stephon Gilmore with the hamstring injury, it's a big problem missing him. They also don't have Patrick Jones, who's a depth linebacker, but it's a big problem not having Stephon Gilmore. And North Ender says, and penalties. We'll get into that when we talk about the Falcons in the next game, the penalties in that game, because it was a mess. Take it away for us here, Troy. This begins our Monday night doubleheader right here on Pub Sports Radio, Bears Vikings in Minneapolis.
This is going to be the game that I'm much less interested in. And it's fascinating too, because I'm from Chicago. All the people I hold dearly, right? All the people I love the Bears. And I certainly do not. I can't believe we ended up on the Bears, to be honest. I mean, especially considering our Tuesday presentation. I feel like it's unacceptable after that type of pitch to come back and be on the Bears. This game currently profiles 50-50 on the spread. Vikes win 50-50 on the spread. The Bears do play divisional opponents extremely tough. Only covers on the road all season. Like, the only covers the past few years on the road is really in division. And I still want to fade this Vikings team, but not against Chicago, who could be lifeless. Yes, Caleb has proven to be effective versus Florida's defense one time at home, where he's been much better. But it wasn't in a fashion that looked very sustainable. He made a few incredible plays, off the charts in terms of probability. And, maybe the best route to go here is go back to the well with a quarterback rush prop against this defense who's going to be sending heat, right? But I'd assume after what Caleb did to this team in round 1, Flores is going to account for that this time around. I feel like the Bears right now, without a leader, obviously the coaching situation is in shambles. There's really no players stepping up to the plate and holding each other, holding people accountable. They have nothing to play for except their health, right, and their futures. I think they might lose 4 straight to finish the season 4-13. This is a Vikings or pass. I guess I might have Vikings on a teaser. I'm not going to have money involved on this game. So I'm passing, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Vikings are as good as the stats indicate from that last game. The Falcons just made some terrible, at worst times, mistakes.
The games before that are pretty much the same thing. The Vikings get outgained. Somehow they pull it together and get wins. Like, it's multiple games in a row we're seeing this from the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, so would this be another double result type situation? I mean, I don't know exactly what to do with this spot. I mean, even if the Bears are in this game, you have to think that the Vikings still win the football game. They still do enough to win it. It's something that they've been doing, ever since that game that Darnold threw all those interceptions, trying to get the ball to Jefferson. He's been much, much smarter in everything that he's done. Like he needed it to go wake up. Much love, North Ender. Thank you for rocking with us, my man. I mean, I wonder if this would just, we have the double dip. I wonder if it's just like a
double result type of,
or you just, because who we both have moved on the next game. I wonder if it's you just parlay the Vikings with the Falcons. I don't see why I wouldn't.
I was just thinking about that before you brought it up. And Vincent Hawkins was, as soon as this game popped up, Vikes double result. He loved it.
Yeah. I don't mind it at all. What would
I don't think there's any rush on this. I don't think we're getting to 7.5. We'll probably hover between 6 and 7.
Yeah, Birdie, it's tricky. Vincent Hawkins looking at the double result. I don't think there's anything wrong with that look here, just tying the Vikings on the money line to the Falcons, which, we've already bet. I do not know what the Bears are going to do defensively, and that messes up the total for me. And I don't even think I should. Maybe I shouldn't even, because I've already got 2 bets on the next game. I don't know if I want to. Okay, I'll figure this out here, but it's a tricky spot because the Vikings, 21-point victory. They shouldn't have won by 21 points, and then the Bears just looked atrocious. Are they just giving up on each other because they have a new coach? Is Thomas Brown going to ensure that they don't just give up on each other after that game?
I mean, I think they're incentivized to lose 4 straight at this point. I don't know. I don't believe in this Bears psyche right now, especially on the road.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the final spot on the board. Now I would have bet this a little differently because I've already doubled up on the Atlanta Falcons in this one. Losers of 4 straight football games. I moved on the Falcons at double result at -105, and I moved on the Falcons -4.5 at -110. Let's get into this one here. We're in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The big story is Aiden O'Connell. He was put in an air cast immediately. Raiders fans feared the worst, and he's got just a bone bruise in his left knee. So he could play here. He's not being ruled out. Desmond Ridder is who Antonio Pierce expects to start. But O'Connell wants to get in here. Ziggy Ball's got the Falcons at +1. Spectacular work there. And here we go. The spreadsheet play of the day is Atlanta -4.5. D. Jenkins says Kirk in last 4 games, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is insane. I'm going to copy and paste NFL spreadsheet play of the day. Vincent Hawkins says Raiders moneyline. Ridder gets revenge on his old team. And see, that was part of the angle that made me like the Falcons. Because they're not going to overlook this game because Ridder's at quarterback, if he's at quarterback. So it's funny that you had that as the opposite, Vincent Hawkins, which generally would be one that I would agree with. But here, I think they're going to want to impose their will and hurt Desmond Ridder. Let's get into the line history here. As I said, I got a 4.5, which is available right now. 4.5 -110 available market wide. This moved to 4.5 at 8:38 this morning. If I had moved yesterday, I could have got a 4. That's okay because I also added the double result. Since it moved to 4.5 at 8:38 this morning, it's moved 2 cents towards Atlanta. I think a 5 is coming, regardless of who is at quarterback. From a total perspective here, this is a 44.5 at -108. It opened up at 42.5, so we've climbed 2 points up to 44.5. It's funny. Jared TG says trying to cap this made me sick to my stomach. Trust either team feels like slamming your nuts in a car door. I love this game. I love this game because there's one thing that I want, and I said this to Troy this afternoon. In all sports, I try to find a spot where a team is playing a real bad football team and they have urgency. I was on the Panthers against the Eagles because the Eagles had no urgency against the Panthers. It was just some bad team coming into Philadelphia a week before they play the Steelers. Like the Atlanta Falcons, despite losing 4 straight, are a game out of their division. They've lost 4 straight. They have enormous amount of urgency here. They have to win. They have to dominate from start to finish in this football game. And that's a perfect spot against the terrible football team. If this wasn't, if the Falcons had won 4 straight, I would never be on them here. But it's the opposite. And I find that extremely, extremely appealing. Let's get into the cash flow. Here we have 41% of the tickets and 64% of the cash on the Falcons, which again, and I know that this is often with the Raiders, but the Raiders are public in this spot because the Falcons have lost 4 straight. I mean, we're talking like, Capper's saying how they didn't want to cap this game. I was like, Jesus, every single thing is working out for me. I'm checking every single box here. So we're going to move on this bet with $600 instead of $300 because this is everything I want when I cap a game. 80% of the tickets, 68% cash on the over. Our market's moving towards the over. Let's roll here. We'll start with the Falcons. Passing offense, second in the league, 250.2 yards per game. And Kirk Cousins is playing poorly. He knows that the clock is ticking. He doesn't have many opportunities like this left. Rushing offense, 12th at 120.8 yards per game. Red zone offense being horrific, 26th, 48.8% of the time. Third down offense, 20th, 37.3%. Passing defense, 25th, 229.1 yards per game they allow. Rush defense, 17th. They allow 120.8 yards per game. Red zone defense is 24th. It's so bad. 61.9% of the time they allow touchdowns. And their third down defense is second worst in the NFL at 46.3%. Coming off their fourth straight loss, 42-21 at Minnesota. Now a game back of the Bucs for the division. They do hold the tiebreaker. Talk about urgency. I mean, this is the easiest bet on the entire board. I don't need to force other people to make bets. I mean, I know you guys can do that on your own. They outgained the Vikings 496 to 433 in the loss. It was just constant self-inflicted wounds. They lose the turnover battle 3-0. They have 12 penalties for 127 yards compared to just 6 for 35 by the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, 23 for 37 for 344 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Mooney caught 6 for 142. Ray caught 8 for 98. He did lose a fumble. But now we're talking about multiple weapons. We didn't even say London or Pitts. Bijan Robinson had 22 carries for 92 yards and a touchdown, caught 2 for 9 yards. Tyler Algier had 9 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. That's a lot of ground yards against the number 1 ranked run defense, or number 2, depending on, I mean, this team has got weapons everywhere. They were just 2 of 5 in the red zone. The defense allowed the Vikings to go 8 for 12 on third down, 4 for 4 in the red zone. The Vikings gave up 7.7 yards per play. The pass rush has looked a lot better. Like, this has been the worst pass rush in the league all year. They had 4 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. They got Mike Hughes back in the lineup after missing 2 games with a knee injury. That is just fucking perfect. Well, what about this isn't like, it doesn't make you want to run and bet it immediately? I mean, 4 straight losses. They have to win right now against the worst team in the league. This is fucking heaven. Let's get into the Raiders here. Passing offense, 16th here. 16th at 223.9 yards per game. Rushing offense is the worst in the league. 79.1 yards per game. It's looked a little better with Sincere McCormick. Red zone offense, 28th in the league. 45.7% of the time they score touchdowns. Their third down offense, 29th in the league. They only convert 34.3% of the time. Their passing defense, 15th. They allow 217.2 yards per game through the air. Rush defense, 14th. They allow 117.6. They're trying for Antonio Pierce. They're fighting for Antonio Pierce. Red zone defense, 25th. They allow touchdowns 62% of the time. And their third down defense, 21st, allowing conversions 41.4% of the time. Coming off their 9th straight loss, 28-13 at Tampa, outgained 420 to 286 in the loss. Already without Gardner Minshew. Then they lose Aiden O'Connell. It looks like he might be okay, as we talked about already. O'Connell was 11 of 19 for 104 yards, and no touchdowns, 1 interception. Desmond Ridder, 12 of 18 for 101 yards. Michael Mayer caught 7 for 68. Jacoby Myers caught 7 for 67. And Brock Bowers didn't have a big game, but he still leads the league in receptions and 3 more catches for 49 yards. So he breaks Sammy Laporta's 1-year-old record for receptions in the season by a rookie tight end. Laporta had 86 catches for the Lions last year. Sincere ran 15 times for 78 yards. Raiders were just 4-13 on third down, 3-3 on fourth. So they did step up on fourth because they're still trying, but 1 of 4 in the red zone. The defense tried to keep him in it. Pass rush had 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Jack Jones and Kayvon Chason had interceptions. You know that fumble recovery by Trayvon Moehrig? That's the first fumble recovery by the Vegas defense all season long. 6 of 13 on third and fourth down, 3-3 in the red zone. The Bucs went on them. This is just fucking heaven. Just heaven. It's perfect. Wish every game was like this. I know I'm going to catch this. Take it away, Troy.
Jimmy, I mean, there's not much I could add. Like, this is pretty straightforward in my estimation. Jimmy, this is the first game you texted me about today. I immediately jumped right to Monday Night Football, started digging in. And you got to love what you see. Falcons off an L4 in a game which they deserved a much better result against Minnesota. Raiders coming off a blowout loss with absolutely nothing to play for. Incentivized to tank. Outgained last week by nearly 3 yards per play. Desmond Ridder is not a professional caliber quarterback. Neither is Aiden O'Connell. Part of the reason why I faded them last week. Desmond Ridder, 5% turnover-worthy play rate in his career. That's demoralizing. He struggles to read zone coverages. He's going to see a lot of it. And the Falcons actually applied some pressure last week. Sure, the redeeming factor for this Raiders team is that McCormick brought some life to a terrible rushing attack. And luckily, this is Atlanta's strong suit, especially with Troy Anderson back in the lineup that my guy in the chat's talking about. We also have 70% of bets on the Raiders. Public is sick of losing their money with the Falcons. Everyone is selling. That's what I want to be buying. And despite all this selling, right, this line's moving towards ATL. Ultimate buy low spot on the Falcons. I got Falcons double result. Falcons -4, -120. And Falcons Commanders money line parlay. I talked about that earlier. Raiders is home dogs with 3 or more. 1-4 ATS, 0-6 straight up. Home teams that close between 4 and 5.5. I love to attack the favorites in this situation. 9-5 ATS, 10-4 straight up, 8-4 to the under. But if the total's higher than 41, implying that the offense for the road team is live, 8-2 ATS, 6-3 to the under. Let's narrow this down one more time. If the game is week 10 or later, 4-0 ATS, all blowouts. I'm on the Falcons.
I love it. I've only had one game this year with $900 on it, so that's 3 units. That was Carolina Tampa. I had the Carolina team total over and the full game over, and awesome. Everything went against me. You know, that touchdown to Thielen. So many things went against me, and we still cashed all of it. I'm going to make this one too. I'm going to add in a Vikings-Falcons parlay. Then I have some fun for the early game that will roll into the one I'm most confident in. So that will be my addition. I've been same action as you, the double result, and but I got 4.5 at -110. You got 4 at -120. It was going to cost me slightly more than that for the -120, and I decided if I'm this confident, then I just cut the vig down. But I get why you got the 4 at but you're also with the double result. You're in a perfect spot.
I'm going with you. Come on, give me Monday Night Football. Give me
love it.
Give me Vikes with a Falcons money line. What number are you getting on that line, Jim?
-113. But I can get better. That's just I just looked at quickly at 365. I know I can get better. I'll look at a couple other books. I expect to get better. Then my guy Young Native Tino in the house. What up, my man? So now the over is something I would think about, but I'm going to keep this as clean as possible. I don't want to add in a total or add anything to get in the way of the angle I know that I'm so confident in. So I'm not going to bother with the total, but I will add that Vikings-Falcons parlay. Now, that might not be the best way to do it, but I do want to have a little bit of fun with that game that starts half an hour earlier. So there we go. That is 16 NFL games broken down here on Bankroll Blitz for Tuesday, December 10th. Thank you all so much for rocking with us. I felt very, very good breaking down this card. We have full slates for the rest of the year, but we only have 3 more of these shows with full slates. Then we get in the playoffs, and the pressure is off quite a bit. Let's review all action. Again, for those of you joining late, I'm coming off a debacle. I'm coming off the worst week of the year, and my 6-week winning streak comes to an end. 4-12, down 9.14 units. It's just a horrific situation. Still in the black, but it was a very costly weekend. We are all over the Thursday nighter. Troy on the 49ers -2.5, 49ers money line. I'm on the 49ers -2.5 and the under 49, and I'm thinking of adding the money line, but I don't know if it's necessary to make that another 3-unit spot. But we're both hammering the Thursday nighter. Chiefs Browns, we are off. Troy's on the Bengals double result. I'm interested in it. I have some interest in the under, but I need more time. Troy's on the Commanders double result. I'm on the Commanders double result. Troy's also on Commanders Falcons moneyline parlay. Then I'm interested in the under 43.5 in Baltimore, New York Giants. I expect to get there. Then I'm going to move on to Panthers. I'm going to move on. Then I'm going to move on the under in Jets Jaguars. Dolphins Texans, we have stayed off. It was a fun cap, but didn't lead to action. Colts Broncos looks like it's going to be a stay off spot as well. Although that to make the playoffs would mean a lot and be very helpful. I'm going to move on the under 54.5 at -110 in Bills Lions. Troy's on the Lions money line. Then Moneyball 5 straight cashers with me on the Panthers, and I'd like to make it 6. We are both on the Eagles double result -115. Then I'm interested in the Cards, but I want to wait and see this Patriots Cardinals market marinate. I'm going to be on the Chargers. McConkey's in. And I have interest in the under in Packers Seahawks, but I'm going to wait. That leads us into the Bears Vikings. We have no action on it, but I'm going to be on the Vikings Falcons parlay, which will lead into huge action for me on the Falcons, which is going to be so much fun for Monday night. I cannot wait for Monday night. Very, very enjoyable. Thank you guys.
Unfortunately, Jimmy, I'm probably going to be missing the live streams this week.
That is unfortunate, but that will, you know what, we have this
spirit, brother,
and we have all of this work, all of the work we've done here that I will be very happy to have. Dougie Y says, do I think Bosa plays? Yes. Yes, I think Bosa plays. But if Bosa doesn't play and Greenlaw plays, that's enough for me. If they both play, it's a 49ers win. So we shall see. Tacky JP, Dougie Wise, The Truth Teller, Slatsy, Susie, Jared TG, Moneyball, Birdie, D. Jenkins, Ronnie Crawford. What a great, great group. Thank you guys all so much. Young Native Tino, Tayway, Jim W. Putt in the house, Rants, Aaron Gaza, Stacking Cream. Thank you all so much. Vincent Hawkins. Thank you guys for all that you do, because you do so much. It's also, we can't do these shows, without your support. We won't be able to do them, and it means so much that you support it. But you also inspire us to work harder, and I love the work. I absolutely love the prep. I love the work so much. It's painstaking, but you guys inspire us to be better cappers and be better gamblers, and I thank you so much for that. I'm very thankful to Jose Snips Bouquet. Thank you for all the hard work you do producing. He's got Betting with Bouquet in the morning. Please support our guy. He's got a great cast of cappers he's going to be rocking with. Betting with Bouquet pops off at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Troy, my man, the floor is yours. Thank you for all your hard work and your insights and your angles. You are not just an All-American on the field. You're an All-American capper, man. Get the money. I need a bounce back so badly. I need a bounce back so bad. My bankroll just it can't really handle many weeks like I just went through, and the stakes are fucking high. So I need to deliver. Let's get that money. Take us home, Troy, my man.
Well, luckily we got the Falcons. That's going to wrap up just a wonderful week this week. I firmly believe we're going to cash this week. I'm a little uncomfortable looking at my action, to be honest, because I have no dogs for the first time. Probably on a Tuesday, I had no dogs. But needless to say, I mean, hey, it's time to back the favorites this week, and that's exactly what we're doing. Pub Sports Radio, I always say it every time I'm capping this show off. Pub Sports Radio, the best damn community. Now let's go out there and make some fucking money.
Pub Sports Radio is very excited to announce the dates for Pubapalooza 4. The most exciting weekend of the gambling year. Round 1 of March Madness. It's all going down in San Antonio, Texas at the Southtown 101, Thursday the 20th till Sunday the 23rd. It's going down, baby.
Scheduled events every day that weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all going down in Southtown 101. Come hang out with some of your favorite Pub Sports Radio personalities.
I can't wait. Meet us in Texas, baby. It's going down.